Chapter 139. Today's total of 270 monthly votes is less than 300. According to the calculation, Quiet Night needs to update 3 chapters. Counting the last 2 chapters, Quiet Night will release 5 chapters today. This is the first chapter update. I sincerely ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes to support me. A trace of a smile was revealed on the corner of Gu Xiaoxue's mouth. In an instant, her image of an icy beauty collapsed and was replaced by a kind of gentle charm that could cause the downfall of a state. Ouyang Lulu is a rich woman. She's also a bit of a neat freak. What she hates the most is to sit in other people's cars. If my guess is correct, she came to Jingmen Island this time. If she didn't drive, then she must have taken her private plane. Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment and said, "She should have driven here, right? She's my driver today, so I'm driving her car." "It shouldn't be," said Gu Xiaoxue. "Her car has a license plate, not a temporary one." "The car she drove today has a temporary license plate," said Gu Xiaoxue. "You noticed that?" Tan Xiu was surprised. "My observation has always been very good," said Gu Xiaoxue with a shallow smile. Ever since she had confirmed Tan Xiu's identity, she had been a bit closer to Tan Xiu. She was adopted and raised by Gu Yan, since she was a child. The concept of respecting one's master was deeply ingrained in her heart. She was perfectly aware that her master was adopted by Tan Xiu. Without Tan Xiu, there would be no master, and without her master, there would be no her today. Tan Xiu grabbed his mobile and dialed Ouyang Lulu's number. "What?" Ouyang Lulu's unhappy voice came out of the phone. Tan Xiu was a bit embarrassed. He felt that he was a bit like a person who needed help in front of others but didn't need help in the future. Therefore, his attitude was much better than before as he spoke with an extraordinarily gentle tone. "Lulu, I want to ask you something. How's your business in Star City?" "Lulu?" On the other end of the phone, it was the first time Ouyang Lulu heard Tan Xiu address her as such. The anger on her face instantly froze as she stared at him with an inconceivable expression. She took the phone and asked, "Don't tell me you have some sinister plot again." "I'm telling you. This old lady will never be your driver in the future." She emphasized the word coachman. "I have something to ask of you. If you can promise me, you'll be my friend later," said Tan Xiu with a smile. "Really?" Ouyang Lulu was astonished. Tan Xiu promised seriously, more real than real gold. "What do you want me to help you with?" Ouyang Lulu said happily. "It's not a big deal, actually." Tan Xiu laughed. "I was in a hurry to rush to Jingmen Island, but there were no more flights at the airport today. I heard from Xiaoxue that you have a private jet and she wants to take it to Jingmen Island." "Xiaoxue, I of you. Are you going to help me?" "Xiaoxue then. You then of Lulu. You to me." A trace of sourness emerged in Ouyang Lulu's heart as she pretended to be dissatisfied. After saying that, she realized that her mentality was not right. She quickly said, "But, if you can call me something nice, I will rush to the airport immediately." Tan Xiu blinked. His mind was full of confusion. Tan Xiu blinked his eyes, his mind full of confusion. Tan Xiu blinked. His mind was full of confusion. Is this guy sick? Isn't she called Ouyang Lulu? Calling her Lulu was already very intimate and nice to hear, right? But I still want to say something nice. Ouyang Lulu told me to say something nice. What should I say? Tan Xiu turned to look at Gu Xiaoxue and asked with a puzzled expression. In fact, Gu Xiaoxue had heard the conversation between Tan Xiu and Ouyang Lulu. Seeing Tan Xiu's confused expression, she secretly rolled her eyes. She didn't know if Tan Xiu was really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. Ouyang Lulu's big missy temper was deliberately teasing him, yet he couldn't see it. However, Ouyang Lulu was usually proud like a princess. How could she make things difficult for her Grand Master this time? Could it be that her Grand Master made her a coachman before and she was unhappy? Gu Xiaoxue, whose emotions were completely blank, thought for a long time before she said in a low voice, Grand Master, you praised her for being very beautiful, praised her for having a good character, praised her for being lovable, praised her for being a flower blooming. Ugh. Tan Xiu looked at Gu Xiaoxue with a strange expression and said according to what she had taught him, Lulu, a great beauty. You're very beautiful and have a good character. You're popular and flowers bloom. You have a bodhisattva heart. You'll definitely take us to Jingmen Island, right? At the side, Gu Xiaoxue admired her Grand Master to death. She didn't expect that Tan Xiu would actually repeat what she had just taught him. Couldn't he come up with something new? Couldn't he say something nicer? Gu Xiaoxue was well aware of Ouyang Lulu's character. She believed that Ouyang Lulu would never be satisfied after hearing those words. She would probably continue to make things difficult for Tan Xiu. At the other end of the phone, the angry expression on Ouyang Lulu's face finally vanished completely. She beamed with joy while holding the phone and said, You're good at talking. This great aunt is in a good mood, so I'll reluctantly help you this time. Remember, you're my friend from now on. You must be the kind of confidant that I can talk about anything with, understand? All right. Tan Xiu's answer was simple and clear. Wait for me at the airport. I'll catch up immediately, said Ouyang Lulu. Tan Xiu put down his phone and looked at Gu Xiaoxue, saying, Ouyang Lulu will be here soon. She asked us to wait for her here. Gu Xiaoxue's brain was a bit short-circuited. She looked at Tan Xiu with disbelief. She racked her brains but couldn't figure out why the proud Princess Ouyang Lulu would forgive Tan Xiu so easily. Moreover, she even readily agreed to it. She suddenly had an illusion that her Grand Master had cast a spell on Ouyang Lulu. Half an hour later, Ouyang Lulu arrived with her black leather boots. She was wearing a shiny black leather coat, and even her cloak was black. When Tang Xiu saw Gu Xiaoxue dressed in white and Ouyang Lulu dressed in black, even though he didn't have the potential to be a prodigal son, he still felt his eyes lit up as he was amazed. Do I look good? Ouyang Lulu let out a charming smile and turned a circle in front of Tan Xiu. Her black windbreaker fluttered, making her look cool and handsome. Her wildness added more charm to her. You look good. Tan Xiu didn't say anything against his heart at this moment, so he nodded and answered sincerely. Ouyang Lulu let out a satisfied smile and immediately walked to Gu Xiaoxue's side. She intimately held Gu Xiaoxue's arm and smilingly said, Xiaoxue, have you finished talking about your business? Yeah. Gu Xiaoxue slightly nodded. Ouyang Lulu said with a smile, if Tan Xiu dares to bully you, tell me. Although this guy is usually arrogant, he's warm-hearted and warm-hearted. I have plenty of ways to deal with him. Lulu, don't say that about Grand Master. Gu Xiaoxue quickly said. What? Ouyang Lulu looked dazed and then rubbed her ears hard. Auditory hallucination? Yes. It must be an auditory hallucination. Xiaoxue, Tan Xiu is really easy to bully. As long as he asks me for something, I can make him beg for mercy. Ouyang Lulu said. Gu Xiaoxue glanced at Tan Xiu and helplessly said, Lulu, Grand Master is broad-minded and really a good person. Don't ever say such words again. Or else I won't be happy. With a shocked expression, Ouyang Lulu pointed at Tan Xiu and exclaimed, You, what did you call Tan Xiu? You called him Grand Master. Did I just hear it wrong? Did you really call him Grand Master? How did he inexplicably become your Grand Master? Gu Xiaoxue nodded and solemnly said, He's indeed my Grand Master and also my master's master. Lulu, if you want to be friends with me later, you must respect my Grand Master. Ouyang Lulu was shocked by Gu Xiaoxue's words. She never dreamed that Tan Xiu turned out to be Gu Xiaoxue's Grand Master, her master's master. How old was Tan Xiu? Gu Xiaoxue was raised by her master, and her master should be at least twice her age, right? A woman in her 40s unexpectedly called Tan Xiu master. This, Gu Xiaoxue didn't explain again, and Tan Xiu naturally didn't explain either. Both of them kept silent and looked at Ouyang Lulu's shocked expression. Xiaoxue, you haven't answered my question yet. After a while, Ouyang Lulu shook Gu Xiaoxue's arm and asked. I can't answer this question, said Gu Xiaoxue. Also, I hope this matter won't spread to the ears of a second person other than you. Even if it's your family. Ouyang Lulu found that there were too many secrets between Gu Xiaoxue and Tan Xiu. Her heart was scratched and her thirst for knowledge was extremely strong, but she was forcibly suppressed by Gu Xiaoxue's words. After being silent for a long time, she slowly nodded and said, I promise that this matter will rot in my heart. Tan Xiu said, let's go. I'm in a hurry. Ouyang Lulu deeply looked at Tan Xiu. She felt that she couldn't see through Tan Xiu more and more. The magnetism that Tan Xiu exuded was getting more and more intense, deeply attracting her, making her want to uncover the layer of fog that shrouded Tan Xiu even more. At Star City Airport, Ouyang Lulu took Tan Xiu and Gu Xiaoxue through the VIP channel. After the airport staff drove the three of them to the parking apron, a silver-white small passenger plane appeared in front of Tan Xiu. It had a streamlined body with gorgeous red lines that formed a gorgeous peony pattern. Its wings were spread out like a big bird that had landed on the ground. Boss. A mature aura was exuding from her body as she held a stack of documents and waited under the ladder. Have you applied to the airport for takeoff? Ouyang Lulu asked. The application has been submitted and the reply is that we can take off in 15 minutes. The pilot and the attendant are already waiting in the cabin. All right. Ouyang Lulu complied and took Tan Xiu and Gu Xiaoxue to climb the ladder. The interior was luxurious, with soft carpets, spacious leather sofas, and exquisite high-end tables and chairs. Even though Tan Xiu didn't know the value of a private plane, he couldn't help but secretly exclaim in admiration after seeing the scene inside. This private plane was absolutely luxurious. How is it? My private plane is good, right? A proud expression hung on Ouyang Lulu's beautiful face. Her eyes swept over Tan Xiu's face again and again. It's not bad, Tan Xiu said lightly. With his eyesight, it was already very rare for him to say, not bad. Ouyang Lulu didn't understand his mentality, but Gu Xiaoxue's heart was as clear as a mirror. After all, Tan Xiu was once a supreme in the immortal world, a super powerhouse that stood above hundreds of millions of people. What kind of luxurious scene had he not seen? Chapter 140. Upon hearing this, Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at Tan Xiu and then excitedly took Gu Xiaoxue to visit her private jet. The interior of this private jet not only had a reception room, but also a bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, cloakroom, and the most extravagant thing was that it also had a separate bathroom. Gu Xiaoxue had always maintained a calm and indifferent appearance. Despite the luxury of the cabin, it still couldn't bring the slightest fluctuation of emotion to her. Only when she occasionally glanced at Tan Xiu did her eyes reveal awe. In fact, not only was Ouyang Lulu curious about Tan Xiu, even Gu Xiaoxue was curious about Tan Xiu. She really wanted to know what was the difference between a supreme powerhouse who once stood above the myriad races and millions of immortals and ordinary people. At Jingmen Island Airport. It was already noon when the silver-white private jet landed on the airport apron. Just as the trio walked out of the airport, two middle-aged men with grim expressions came to them. Little boss. Gu Xiaoxue slightly nodded and pointed at Tan Xiu, saying, Uncle An, Uncle Ao, this is Tan Xiu, the everlasting feast hall's master. Treat him the same way you treat my master. Do you remember? Mr. Tang. Mo An and Mo Ao looked at Tan Xiu with astonishment. They knew Tan Xiu. After all, Tan Xiu had caused a huge sensation in their everlasting feast hall a few days ago. They had a deep reverence for Tan Xiu to begin with. Now that they heard the little boss's words, they chose to be obedient even though they didn't understand why. With respect, they said in unison, Big boss. Tan Xiu turned to look at Gu Xiaoxue and frowned, what do you mean by this? Grand Master, this is what Master had instructed me to do, said Gu Xiaoxue. I'm just executing Master's order. Tan Xiu could only force a wry smile and looked at the Mo brothers. He nodded and didn't say anything more. Big boss, little boss, the car is ready. Are we going back to the everlasting feast hall now? Or, let's return to the everlasting feast hall, said Gu Xiaoxue. Ouyang Lulu looked at Gu Xiaoxue and then looked at Tan Xiu. Although she really wanted to follow them to the everlasting feast hall, she realized that Tan Xiu and Gu Xiaoxue must have important things to do, and it would be inappropriate for her to follow them. After hesitating for a moment, she could only suppress the curiosity in her heart. I'm going back to the Paradise Club. Come to the everlasting feast hall if you have time. Gu Xiaoxue nodded. All right. Ouyang Lulu complied. She stood where she was, looking at the backs of Tan Xiu and Gu Xiaoxue, and a sense of helplessness rose in her heart. Previously, she had sworn that she would never be Tan Xiu's coachman again. But with Tan Xiu's kind words, she found that she had foolishly become the coachman again. At the everlasting feast hall. When the two cars entered the parking lot, Tan Xiu followed Gu Xiaoxue and walked towards a small Seacom path in the distance. He discovered that he was heading towards the inner coastline of the sea. On the beach, Gu Xiaoxue untied the rope and floated to board the small boat. After boarding the boat, Tan Xiu asked with a puzzled expression, "We're going out to sea? Is Yen, or in the sea?" "You'll know if you follow me, Grand Master." Gu Xiaoxue nodded. The small boat didn't have any oars, but when the two of them stood on it, it moved without any wind and slowly moved toward the sea. After gliding for a kilometer, it stopped on the surface of the sea. Gu Xiaoxue's toes lightly touched the ground as her perfect body floated up and stopped a dozen meters above the sea. She then waved her arms and released a powerful energy wave. Huh! An array pattern? Tan Xiu's expression moved and he instantly released his spiritual sense. Whoosh! The surface of the sea was like being split by a knife as the seawater spread to both sides. Under the observation of Tan Xiu's spiritual sense, an array pattern fluctuation came out from the bottom of the sea. It's the Cosmos Blue Sea Array. Tan Xiu sighed. There was an array manual of the Jade Sea Cosmos Array in his library. Gu Xiaoxue floated down and stood side by side with Tan Xiu. Excitement flashed in her eyes as she respectfully said, "This is the Jade Sea Cosmos Array laid out by my master, Grand Master. My master is 100 meters under the sea. Please come with me." "All right." Tan Xiu followed behind Gu Xiaoxue and rushed toward the passage that was split open in the sea. 100 meters under the sea. An exquisite pagoda with a height of more than 10 meters exuded a lustrous luster. Spiritual qi from all directions on the seabed flooded into the exquisite pagoda's interior like a tide. At a glance, Tan Xiu recognized that this was the magic tool he had given to Gu Yen, in the past. It was a treasure from the immortal world that could be used for both offense and defense. Gu Xiaoxue stopped in front of the pagoda's door. She turned to look at Tan Xiu and said, "Grand Master, you gave this magic tool to my master, so you should know how to open the pagoda's door." "I'll let you open it." Tan Xiu nodded. His fingers pinched into a lotus seal and he shouted in a low voice, "Heaven and earth, only I am supreme." However, as Tan Xiu's voice faded away, the pagoda's door remained motionless. Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment before a wry smile appeared on his face. He shook his head and said, "I've lost all my magic power and my strength is less than 1,000th of what it used to be. I can't open the pagoda's door using normal methods." With that said, he walked to the pagoda's door. His fingers stroked the golden dragon carved on the wall next to the pagoda's door and knocked it 9 times in a regular pattern. Suddenly, the pagoda's door, which had been motionless just now, slowly opened. "This is..." Gu Xiaoxue looked at Tan Xiu's method in amazement and confirmed Tan Xiu's identity in her heart. The reason why she asked Tan Xiu to open the exquisite pagoda's door was also a test. After all, it was better to prove it with one's own eyes than to say it out loud. When Tan Xiu said the mnemonic to open the pagoda's door, she understood that Tan Xiu's identity should not be wrong. Seeing that Tan Xiu used another method to open the pagoda's door, a method that even she didn't know about, made her secretly surprised. "How did you do it, Grand Master?" Tan Xiu smiled and said, "This exquisite pagoda was given to Yen by me in the past, so I naturally have other ways to open it. In fact, Yen also knows how to do it." Gu Xiaoxue suddenly understood and said with respect in her eyes, "Let's go in, Grand Master." "Master, she's inside." Tan Xiu nodded and stepped into the pagoda's door. "Huh?" In an instant, Tan Xiu felt a piercing chill. The temperature inside the pagoda was more than 10 times colder than the outside world. Even though he was a cultivator, he still couldn't help but shiver. "Who is it?" A voice filled with vicissitudes of life reverberated inside the pagoda. An old woman with a dragon head walking stick and a golden cloak appeared in front of Tan Xiu in the blink of an eye. "Old Ji, don't be rude." Gu Xiaoxue floated over and said in a solemn voice. The old woman's expression changed slightly, nodding at Gu Xiaoxue and said in a solemn voice, "Young lord, master once said that other than you, no one is allowed to enter the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. What is the purpose of you bringing an outsider here?" Gu Xiaoxue pointed at Tan Xiu and said, "He's the person master is looking for." "What?" The old woman's eyes shrunk as she stared at Tan Xiu in horror. Tan Xiu looked at her from head to toe and said nonchalantly, "A mere succubus race bloodline dares to act presumptuously in front of this honored one? If I remember correctly, if it wasn't for my protection, the entire succubus race would have been slaughtered by Thousand Eyes Lord, right?" Plop, the old woman's body trembled and she directly knelt in front of Tan Xiu. Just as Tan Xiu said, if it wasn't for Tan Xiu coincidentally coming across the succubus race who were being slaughtered and helping them, their succubus race would have most likely been erased from the immortal world. Aside from their master, Gu Yan, no one else on earth knew about this matter. Ji Qimei pays respect to Venerable Lord. Tan Xiu lightly said, "Get up. Your injuries are very serious. If you don't treat them in time, I'm afraid you won't last for more than a few years." Ji Qimei bitterly said, "This junior knows. But resources on earth are scarce and there are no holy medicines to take. It's already a great fortune for me to be able to persist until now. Young lord can find Venerable Lord. If master wakes up, she will definitely be very happy. Wake up." Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows and asked in a deep voice, "What's wrong with Yen?" This, Ji Qimei's complexion slightly changed. She lowered her head and didn't speak. With a bit of bitterness, Gu Xiaoxue said, "Grand Master, master's injuries are more serious than Elder Ji's. She has fallen into a coma countless times in the past decade. Even if she wakes up, she can only hold on for half a day before falling into a coma again." Twilight nightmare? Recalling what Gu Xiaoxue once said, Tan Xiu's heart shook violently. Almost without hesitation, he flew toward the stairs. The exquisite pagoda had a total of 7 floors. Apart from the first floor where a lot of refining materials were stored, the second to the 6th floors were completely empty. Tan Xiu's speed was extremely fast. When he appeared on the 7th floor, the chill in the surrounding air turned more severe. His eyes fell on a jade-like ice bed. A breathtakingly beautiful woman in a white dress and black hair was quietly lying on the bed. She looked to be in her 20s. It's her. After seeing that stunning face, Tan Xiu's heart palpitated even more. Although Gu Yan's appearance was a bit older than when she disappeared, he couldn't forget that familiar face even after thousands of years. Disciple. Tan Xiu came to the ice bed and gently lifted Gu Yan with trembling hands, carefully hugging her in his arms. A familiar face, a familiar scent. Never in his wildest dreams did Tan Xiu expect that he could see this disciple he raised again. Scenes of the past emerged in his mind. Master, Yen is hungry. Can you pick the green jade immortal fruit for me? Master, Yen, has learned the butterfly fluttering immortal dance. Can I dance it for you? Master, Yen-er's cultivation has broken through again. It won't be long before Yen-er breaks through to the true immortal stage. At that time, Yen will have the ability to protect Master. Master, the flowing dress you bought for me is so beautiful. Yen-er likes white clothes, Master. Tan Xiu's eyes were a bit moist. His palm gently stroked Gu Yen-er's delicate cheeks. He slowly sat on the edge of the ice bed and looked at Ji Qimei and Gu Xiaoxue, asking in a deep voice, "Tell me everything." Chapter 141. Ji Qimei respected Tan Xiu like a deity. After hearing the inquiry, she respectfully replied, "Venerable Lord, this subordinate doesn't know much about Master's matters. I only know that she's been searching for you for thousands of years. Later on, Master heard that you were plotted against by others and your soul was scattered. She didn't believe it, so she rushed through the heavenly path 9 times and finally learned the star-pushing divination art under Heavenly Emperor Tianji. Master paid an extremely terrible price and finally managed to deduce some information about you. However, because it wasn't easy to find this place, Master sneaked into Time Island and schemed against Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's direct disciple and finally obtained the Space Magic Array. After Master exhausted all her wealth and finally arranged the Space Magic Array, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou found us and brazenly attacked us. Master was even hit by Zhu Wushou's Twilight Nightmare. A murderous glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he asked in a deep voice, "If I remember correctly, Gu Xiaoxue said that you came to Earth decades ago, but I came back to Earth only a year ago. What's going on?" Master's comprehension of the laws of space and time has reached a very profound level, Ji Qimei replied. But before we came here, we were affected by Zhu Wushou's Twilight Nightmare, which caused us to deviate in the long river of time and arrive decades earlier. The doubts in Tan Xiu's heart were all dispelled after he got the answer. He finally understood why the Everlasting Feast Hall had the Water Block Dragon Array and the Thousand Revolution Array. It turned out that everything was because of Gu Yen-er. She racked her brains and paid an extremely painful price to personally come to Earth. Tan Xiu was not a man with a heart of stone. A tide of emotions surged inside his heart. His tender love for her made him hate Shade Demon Zhu Wushou. He vowed that one day when he returned to the immortal world, he would make Zhu Wushou pay the most miserable price. Standing at the side, Gu Xiaoxue looked at Tan Xiu's appearance with mixed feelings. She knew her master's wish and obsession for thousands of years. Now, even though Master was still unconscious, to be able to be held in the Grand Master's arms, Master would probably feel happy no matter who was unconscious, right? Yen-er. When can she wake up? Tan Xiu turned to look at Ji Qimei and asked in a deep voice. The last time Master woke up was 3 months ago, said Ji Qimei respectfully. According to the previous pattern, there should be 3 more months. In addition, too many soul-suppressing stones had been consumed. The remaining soul-suppressing stones could only last its master for 2.5 years. If we don't get the soul-suppressing stone after 2.5 years, I'm afraid Master will. Soul-suppressing stone. A god's stone to suppress one's divine soul and protect one's life? Tan Xiu clenched his fists, his eyes shining with determination. Not only did he have to find a way to find the soul-suppressing stone, but he also had to find the chrono crystal and the demonic revival grass. The soul-suppressing stone could only treat the symptoms and not the root cause. Only by finding the other 2 things, or something that could replace them, could they completely cure Gu Yen-er. Which one of you knows alchemy? Gu Xiaoxue and Ji Qimei glanced at each other. Then, Gu Xiaoxue said, "I know a little. Master knows alchemy and taught me before. However, I can't refine pills that are too precious." "I can," said Ji Qimei. Tan Xiu said, "I'll stay with Yen-er for a night today. Tomorrow, you'll return to Star Realm with me. I have a blood spiral shell there, which can be used as the main ingredient for refining the spirit congealing pill. As for the formula for refining the spirit congealing pill, I'll give it to you." You should also think of ways to search for the other medicinal ingredients needed. Spirit congealing pill. Ji Chimei's eyes revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. She had been in the immortal world for thousands of years, so she naturally knew the preciousness and effect of the spirit congealing pill. If she could really refine the spirit congealing pill, her master could maintain her current state for at least 3 to 5 years. Thank you, Venerable Lord. Ji Chimei kowtowed. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, "This is not the immortal world. Don't kowtow to me in front of others later. Furthermore, I'm no longer the supreme Tan Xiu in the immortal world, but a modern man who has to start from scratch. Alright, you can go out now." Yes. Ji Chimei and Gu Xiaoxue respectfully replied. The temperature inside the exquisite pagoda was dozens of degrees below zero, which was even colder than the temperature inside the ice house. However, Tan Xiu relied on his exuberant vitality to resist the cold and stayed inside the exquisite pagoda for a full day and a half. It had been thousands of years since they last met, and he was reluctant to part with his disciple who had sacrificed so much for him. Although she was still in a coma, Tan Xiu still wanted to spend more time with her. The next morning, Tan Xiu came out of the exquisite pagoda and returned to the coast. He saw Gu Xiaoxue and Ji Chimei standing side by side. They had been waiting for a long time. "Grand Master, Ouyang Lulu is here," Gu Xiaoxue respectfully said. Tan Xiu lightly said, "Since she's here, it saves me a lot of trouble." "Ji Chimei, do you have an ID card?" "I don't." Ji Chimei shook her head. Tan Xiu looked at Gu Xiaoxue and said, "Help her get an ID card. Having an ID card will save a lot of trouble for her to live on Earth. Take me to see Ouyang Lulu." "Grand Master, do you want her to be your coachman again?" A smile outlined on the corner of Gu Xiaoxue's mouth and her eyes were full of smiles. Tan Xiu strode forward and asked back, "Ji Chimei doesn't even have an ID card. Do you think she can quickly follow me to Star City without Ouyang Lulu's private jet?" "Grand Master is right." The smile on Gu Xiaoxue's face turned thicker as she spoke. She knew Ouyang Lulu's personality. She found that the little princess of the Ouyang family, who was once arrogant and cocky, was unexpectedly subdued by her Grand Master. Was it because of his charm? Or was he Ouyang Lulu's nemesis? A few minutes later, in the parking lot of the everlasting feast hall, Ouyang Lulu's eyes widened as she angrily glared at Tan Xiu and shouted, "What? You want me to be your coachman again? I won't do it. I usually order others around, it's not their turn to order me around. Tan Xiu, no matter what you say today, I won't agree." "Lulu, I still remember what you said before," said Tan Xiu with a meaningful tone. "We're friends. Shouldn't friends help each other?" She doesn't have an ID card, so wanting to take a plane to Star City is absolutely a pipe dream. How about I, a friend who sincerely regards you as a friend, spend money to rent your private jet? You, Ouyang Lulu didn't expect that Tan Xiu would use her words to attack her. Her heart was full of unwillingness, but she didn't want to lose Tan Xiu as a friend. She had no choice but to use the same trick again to gain some face for herself. She said, "Actually, it's not like I can't help you. But I'm a person who likes to listen to good words. If you can satisfy me, I'll immediately arrange it and personally send you to Star City." "Lulu, the Great Belle. You're very beautiful and have a good character. You're loved by everyone who sees you. Flowers bloom when they see you. You have a bodhisattva heart. You will definitely take us to Jingmen Island, right?" Tan Xiu said. Pfft, at the side, Gu Xiaoxue couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ouyang Lulu's mouth twitched a few times. With an angry expression, she shouted, "Tan Xiu, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Don't think that I have a bad memory and you can play tricks on me. I still remember clearly that you said good things about this match, and not a single word was off." Her last sentence, "not a single word wrong," was said in a very heavy tone. Tan Xiu was silent. "Lulu, Please don't make things difficult for my Grand Master. Elder Ji and Grand Master have important things to do in Star City. Please help them. Gu Xiaoxue said. Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at Tan Xiu. She then snorted and said, forget it. I'll give Xiaoxue a face. I won't bicker with you this time. Let's go. In any case, I haven't finished talking with Chu Yi and the others. I'm going to Star City again, so I'll take you there. Thanks. Tan Xiu nodded and said. When Tan Xiu returned to Star City, it was nearly noon. From the villa in Southgate Town, he gave the blood spiral shell to Ji Qimei and asked her to find Ouyang Lulu. After that, he took a taxi and went to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. He originally planned to go to Xingqing No. 1 High School early in the morning, but it was delayed again. Furthermore, his plan to give Yuan Chuling and the others supplementary lessons last night in Jingmen Island had fallen through. After coming to the VIP ward, Tan Xiu looked at his mother, who was preparing to eat. He then asked with a smile, Mom, how's your recovery? Do you still feel pain? It's not painful anymore, Su Lingyun said with a smile. Xiu, how come you're here again? Aren't you busy with your school courses? Actually, we've already finished our high school courses, and the rest of the month is the revision stage. Tan Xiu said. My grades are good and I've mastered all the knowledge in the textbook. Miss Han knew about your situation and thought that coming out won't affect my studies, so I came to the hospital. Yeah, Mom knows. Su Lingyun said with a smile. Last night, Miss Han came to the hospital. She also gave you a thumbs up when talking about your grades. I know that our show is the most promising one. That's right, have you eaten yet? Come and eat with Mom. I'm not hungry. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said. I still have to go back to school, so I'll just eat something when I go back. But you said that Miss Han came. I didn't tell her your ward number. She should have heard it from someone else. Su Lingyun said with a smile. While they were talking, the VIP ward's door was knocked, and President Li Hongji stood at the door with a smiling face. He was holding a portfolio in his hand. President Li has come. Please have a seat. Su Lingyun didn't have the time to eat and quickly struggled to get up. Li Hongji quickly said, You're welcome. Just sit down. Tan Xiu, I've helped you get your physician's qualification certificate. Although the leaders of the health bureau were quite dissatisfied, they approved it with my guarantee. You'll be a real doctor in the future. When are you going to come to our Chinese medical hospital to give medical services? Tan Xiu took the portfolio and took out the certificate from inside. After looking at it, he said, Wait until my college entrance test is over. I'm going to face the college entrance test soon. If I come to give medical services now, I'm afraid my mother won't agree. Chapter 142. For Li Hongji to be able to hire Tan Xiu was already a good thing. Now that he got Tan Xiu's reply, he was quite satisfied. He nodded and said, I've sent someone to prepare an office for you. You can use it when you come. All right. Tan Xiu said. Li Hongji said with a smile, Then, I won't bother you anymore. After sending Li Hongji away, Tan Xiu took the portfolio in his hand and asked, Mom, where are Ban's Ho and the others? How come I don't see them? Su Lingyun said with a smile, I told them to go back. I'm a woman living in the main courtyard, and they are accompanying me all day long. It's not a good thing. Besides, the hospital has sent 2 nurses to take care of me every day. It's enough. Tan Xiu released his divine sense and found that Ban's Ho and Dingzi didn't leave, but stayed near the corridor. He was secretly satisfied and said, I see. Mom, since you're fine, I'll go back to school. Xiu, you must review well and strive to enter a famous university. Su Lingyun was most concerned about her son's studies and quickly urged him. Don't worry, Mom. Tan Xiu replied with a smile and then left the Chinese medical hospital. Xingqing No. 1 High School. Han Qingwu was sitting in her office with a face full of anger. It was reasonable to say that Tan Xiu's leave time had come, but that guy unexpectedly didn't come to class today. She really couldn't understand why Tan Xiu was so against staying in school. Even if his grades were good, he should understand the principle of sharpening a spear at the last moment. Even if it's not fast, it's still bright. Huh? Miss Han didn't go to eat. The head teacher of another class came back to get the key and found that Han Qingwu was still in the classroom, so he immediately said with a smile. I'm full of anger. Han Qingwu said snappily. Huh? What happened? The head teacher was surprised. As soon as Han Qingwu said those words, she felt that she had lost her composure. She quickly said, it's nothing big. It's just for a student. Teacher Li, go and eat. I'll go to the cafeteria later. All right. Seeing that Han Qingwu didn't want to talk about this topic, the homeroom teacher nodded and left. Bang bang, a few minutes later, someone knocked on the office door. Han Qingwu looked up at the door. When she saw Tan Xiu standing outside the door, she instantly jumped up from her office chair and rushed to Tan Xiu. She shouted fiercely, Tan Xiu, are you still a student? Wasn't he supposed to come to class this morning? Why are you only here now? Did you know that you skipped class again this morning? Tan Xiu helplessly said, Miss Han, being too angry will harm your body. Please calm down first. If you have anything to say, we can talk later, okay? Han Qingwu said angrily, what else is there to say? Do you have a reason to skip class? Count with your fingers. How many days have you attended class since you were hospitalized? Tan Xiu shook his head and said, Miss Han, you let me come to class 10 because you trust me. Of course, there's also a bit of affection in it. I haven't lost your face since I came to class 10, have I? The reason why I didn't come to class is that I really have something important to do. I'm going to face the college entrance test soon, and I know the priorities of the matter. So, you don't have to always emphasize whether I skip class or not. Han Qingwu angrily said, then you use my trust in you to indulge yourself like this? Tan Xiu emphasized, if I want to indulge myself, I can ask for leave from the school. Moreover, even the principal has no choice but to agree to my reason. I can understand that you're angry now, but I want you to listen to my explanation before you vent your anger. You're a teacher and a class leader, so you shouldn't have this kind of magnanimity, right? Han Qingwu was so angry that she laughed. She pointed at Tan Xiu and said, good, good, good. Since you said you have a reason, then I'd like to hear it. Say it. Tan Xiu raised the portfolio in his hand and slowly said, I'm smart enough, and studying is too easy for me. So I usually read some medical books to pass the time in my spare time. Not long ago, the school gave me a week-long vacation, so I went to Jingmen Island. There, I accidentally saved a person, a little girl with a strange disease. The little girl's mother once took her daughter to visit famous doctors everywhere. Even the president of our Star City Chinese medical hospital was helpless against the little girl's strange disease. When my mother was hospitalized, the president of the Chinese medical hospital, Li Hongji, learned that I cured the little girl and personally received me. He hoped that I could work in the Chinese medical hospital and gave me very good treatment. I never thought of becoming a doctor when I grow up, so I declined him. Han Qingwu sneered and said, you're lying. Keep lying. Tan Xiu stuffed the portfolio into Han Qingwu's hand and said, whether you believe it or not, what I said is the truth. I refused him, but he didn't give up and begged me again and again. Finally, I promised him that I would go to the Chinese medical hospital after the college entrance test. But, you also know that the doctors in the hospital need to take the medical qualification certificate. This is the certificate that he helped me get. Han Qingwu opened the portfolio with a skeptical expression. When she took out the certificate stamped with the big steel seal of the Health Bureau, disbelief was revealed in her eyes. This certificate is real? Tan Xiu took out his mobile and found Li Hongji's cell number. He handed it to Han Qinggu and said, "It's really the number of the president of the Chinese medical hospital. If you don't believe me, you can call him now to confirm whether what I said is true or not. Also, if you have doubts about this number, you can also find his cell number through your connections and compare it with mine to see if it's the same number." Han Qinggu looked at the cell number. After a moment of silence, the anger on her face slowly subsided. She looked at Tan Xiao and said, "I don't need to call him to confirm it. I choose to believe you. I can let bygones be bygones for your absenteeism this time. But you can't ask for leave again in the future. You must stay at school and review your homework. I promise you." Tan Xiao replied without hesitation. Then, at night, asked Han Qinggu, "I believe you've asked Yuan Chuling and the others about me tutoring them the night before yesterday," said Tan Xiao. "I'm sure they told you about the result. If you think that I don't need to give them tutoring anymore, I can naturally relax and don't need to ask for leave for the evening self-study." "I'll give them the leave," said Han Qinggu. She was not a fool. Of course, she had asked them about the result of the tutoring Tan Xiao gave to Yuan Chuling and the other three. The result was unbelievable to her, because the four of them were full of praise for Tan Xiao and said that they benefited a lot from it. Class 10, which she taught, was not a class for top students, and the grades of the students in the class were generally average. If Tan Xiao's tutoring plan for the four of them was really effective, they might be able to improve their scores a lot in the college entrance test. Tan Xiao grabbed the portfolio in Han Qingwu's hand, raised it and said, "I've explained everything, Miss Han. The president of the Chinese medical hospital wanted to treat me to lunch at noon, but I didn't agree. So I'm still hungry now. You busy yourself first, I'll go to the cafeteria for lunch." "I'll go too," Han Qingwu immediately said. With a confused expression, Tan Xiao said, "It's been a while since school ended. You should have eaten, right?" Han Qingwu rolled her eyes at Tan Xiao and grunted, "I was so angry with you that I didn't have the mood to eat. Now that I've heard your explanation, my anger has subsided. Won't you be hungry if you don't eat?" "Ugh," Tan Xiao forced a smile and shook his head. Shortly after, when Tan Xiao and Han Qingwu came to the school's cafeteria, they immediately attracted the attention of countless teachers and students, causing a big sensation. Heavens! Isn't that Tan Xiao? He skipped classes for so many days, and he actually went back to school today. Why didn't the school expel such a black sheep? That brat is really asking for a beating. He even queued up with Miss Han to get his meal. It seems that they're going to eat together. Our Miss Han is the goddess in my heart. How can she have a meal with Tan Xiao? Although Yuan Chuling and Qing Yannan have said a lot of good things about Tan Xiao, but I still think that this brat is not a good thing. Miss Han is really blind to have a meal with him. That's too hateful. Miss Han has never eaten in the cafeteria with any male. That brat actually has such a blessing. I'm really pissed off. How come I'm not the one having lunch with Miss Han? Whether it was his previous life or this life, Tan Xiao had suffered the attention of others countless times. Therefore, he didn't care about those pairs of curious, surprised, and angry eyes. Looking at Han Qingwu busily getting his meal and paying for it, he naturally chose to accept it. This was the compensation for being reprimanded by her just now. Tan Xiao happily sat in front of Han Qingwu. He picked up the chopsticks and prepared to eat while thinking magnanimously. Halfway through the meal, Yuan Chuling, Qing Yannan, Xia Wanfen, and Li Shaoqian hurriedly rushed to the cafeteria. "Oh! I was wondering who was so lucky to have a meal with Miss Han. It turns out to be you, eldest brother. I say, eldest brother, you're finally back. We went to your house yesterday, but unfortunately, you weren't there. We couldn't even reach your phone. You won't leave us hanging tonight, right?" Yuan Chuling sat next to Tan Xiao and called out while holding his shoulder. Tan Xiao pushed his arm away and lightly said, "We'll continue tonight." Qing Yannan's eyes sparkled with extraordinary splendor as she excitedly said, "No problem. We'll be there on time tonight. We've prepared the textbooks for the first to the third year. Tan Xiu nodded and said, I know. If there's nothing else, you go back to the classroom first. I'll go back after eating. All right. Qing Yannan nodded. Looking at Yuan Chuling, who still wanted to say something, she directly pulled him up and walked outside the cafeteria in large strides. Han Qinggu raised her eyelids and unhurriedly said, I didn't expect that you're so popular. I hope your supplementary lessons for them are really effective. Chapter 143. After lunch, Tan Xiu returned to the classroom. 10 minutes before the first afternoon class, Kang Xia called and told Tan Xiu that the company's employee recruitment had come to an end and the overall framework of the company had been completed. She also sent the address of the company's rented office building to Tan Xiu's mobile phone. It was difficult for Tan Xiu to go out during the day, so he told Kang Xia that she could go there after school. After ending the call, the first thing that came to his mind was the healthcare products. He had the formula of the product, but if he wanted to make it into a healthcare product, he must remix the Chinese medicine ingredients and adjust the efficacy. At present, not only was Kang Xia waiting for the sample, but even Long Zhenglin was also waiting. After all, the earlier the product was developed, the more he could start the entire production, packaging, marketing, sales, and other plans. Tan Xiu spent the 3 afternoon classes in a trance. He was constantly calculating the proportion of the healthcare product formula, the size of the bottle, the effect of the bottle, and so on. Ring, ring, ring. As the last afternoon class was over, Tan Xiu packed up his things and prepared to rush to the magnificent Tang Corporation rented by Kang Xia. Although he had handed over the power of the company to Kang Xia, but no matter what, he was still the big boss behind the scenes of the magnificent Tang Corporation. If he didn't know where the company was, it would be unreasonable. Eldest brother, I'll go with you. I'll freeload a meal at your house tonight. A trace of a sinister smile hung on Yuan Chuling's face as he said with a mischievous smile. Tan Xiu snappily said, My house is not a restaurant. If you want to eat, go back to your house. Yuan Chuling thickened his face and said, Who said your house is not a restaurant? I've been there. Besides, your housekeeper, that big sis Mu, has a very high cooking level. If I don't freeload a meal, I'll feel sorry for my mouth and stomach. I'll go too. Qing Yannan, who was sitting in the front row, had been listening to the conversation between Tan Xiu and Yuan Chuling, so she turned around and said with a smile. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, I have something to do later, so I'll have to delay a lot of time. Yuan Chuling was confused and asked, Eldest brother, where are you going? Tan Xiu said, I'll go to the medicinal herbs market first, then I'll go to another place. Yuan Chuling said, Boss, why do I feel that your whereabouts have been uncertain recently? You seem very mysterious. Are you doing something big in secret? No, I want to go with you. I'm not afraid to eat at a gala. It's better to eat when you're hungry. Agreed. Qing Yannan said. Tang Xiu helplessly said, Are you two dogskin plaster? Fine, fine, fine. If you want to follow me, then follow me. However, only the two of you will know about my affairs. I don. Eldest Mu. No brother. Qing Yannan and Yuan Chuling answered simultaneously. After leaving the campus, Tang Xiu directly stopped a taxi outside the campus gate. Soon after, the trio arrived at the Star City Medicinal Herbs Market. Tang Xiu bought a lot of medicinal herbs according to the Chinese medicine formula for the healthcare products. Eldest brother, why did you buy so many medicinal herbs? Don't tell me it's for the soup. Yuan Chuling asked with a confused expression while carrying the medicinal herbs Tang Xiu bought. Some are for soup, but some aren't. Don't ask about it. Don't ask about this for now. You'll naturally find out later. Yuan Chuling rolled his eyes and snappily said, Eldest brother, you don't need to be so mysterious, do you? My curiosity has been piqued by you. Tan Xiao was silent for a moment before he slowly said, if you want the answer, ask less. Ask less, listen more, see more, and you will get the answer. It's getting late, let's go. Star City, Eastern Golden Seat. This was the most prosperous business center in the entire Star City, and it was only a street away from the Long's dining hall. This nearly 50-story building was contracted by the major companies in Star City. Even if they didn't set up their headquarters here, they would still rent a floor here for their branch offices. The 41st and 42nd floors were rented by the magnificent Tang Corporation and had signed a 2-year lease contract. Each floor had an area of 6,000 square meters. Whether it was the office or the public office area, it was exceptionally spacious and bright. In the elevator, Yuan Chuling looked at Tan Xiao with a strange expression. His Yuan family also had a branch office here, but it wasn't the core business, but the advertising company established by his mother. Eldest brother, why did you bring us here? Yuan Chuling hesitated several times before he finally couldn't help but ask. Tan Xiao secretly rolled his eyes inwardly. With Yuan Chuling's temperament, he knew that he wouldn't be able to hold himself from asking. However, Tan Xiao didn't intend to explain and lightly said, do you still remember what I said before? Ask less, listen more and see more. Yuan Chuling gave a middle finger to Tan Xiao and directly turned his face to the side. The elevator quickly ascended to the 41st floor. When the elevator door opened, Andy's delicate and lovely face appeared outside the door with a smile on the corner of her mouth. The moment she saw Tan Xiao, she gave a 90-degree bow. Her open collar revealed the deep ravine on her chest incisively and vividly. Hello, boss. Tan Xiao slowly nodded. After stepping out of the elevator, he asked, where's Kang Xia? Andy's eyes were sparkling as she said with a faint smile, Chief Kang is in her office. The 41st floor has been cleaned up and can be used for the time being. The 42nd floor has just been cleaned up and can be used in a few days. I can rest assured if you handle this matter, said Tan Xiao. The smile on Andy's delicate face turned thicker as she happily said, thank you for your trust, boss. We'll definitely do a good job. Tan Xiao didn't speak again. Although Yuan Chuling's eyes were as big as copper bells when he saw Andy, and his mouth was opened wide with a shocked expression on his face, he didn't clearly hear the conversation between Tan Xiao and Andy. However, Cheng Yannan was able to clearly hear the conversation between Tan Xiao and Andy. Boss? Tan Xiao turned out to be the boss of this place. Wasn't he just a high school student? How did he suddenly become someone else's boss? Cheng Yannan looked at Tan Xiao with an inconceivable expression. Suddenly, a somewhat familiar name emerged in her mind, Kang Xia. Where did I hear this name? Cheng Yannan slightly tilted her head and found that Yuan Chuling was staring at Andy in a daze without blinking. She immediately used her elbow to fiercely hit him. The moment he sobered up, she whispered, have you heard of the name Kang Xia? What? Yuan Chuling asked with a confused expression. Cheng Yannan gave him a big supercilious look and whispered again, I'm talking about Kang Xia. Have you ever heard this name Kang Xia? I think it's a bit familiar. Yuan Chuling gulped down a mouthful of saliva. His eyes quickly swept over Andy again. Shaking his head, he said, no. There are many people with the same name and surname, but I've never heard this name. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Pervert. Cheng Yannan keenly observed Yuan Chuling's eyes. She snorted inwardly and didn't speak again. General Manager's office. Kang Xia was sitting at her desk, looking at the documents in her hands. In front of her, Wei Zhongfeng, who was holding a stack of documents, said, I've sent people to screen the locations of the factories. Among the 3 factories in the list, one of them is a private workshop, while the other 2 belong to a cosmetics company. From the results of the investigation, I think that private workshop is much better than the other 2. However, I haven't personally gone to the site yet, so I can't be sure. Kang Xia said, I'll personally go there tomorrow. You have another task to do. Wei Zhongfeng was confused. What mission? Kang Xia said, although the boss has assigned you to the sales department as a basic salesperson, but we're in need of manpower now, so capable people should do more work. Help me do something else first. If the results of the people I sent to investigate are correct, there is a Yinlan security company in the provincial capital. Regardless of reputation or ability, they are very good. Tomorrow, you will personally go to this security company for a field trip. If you think it's not bad, you can hire 20 security guards first. Wei Zhongfeng was puzzled. Hire security now? Kang Xia nodded and said, we're about to select the factory, so the security issue is our top priority. Also, we don't have to worry about anything when there are people here during the day. But when we leave at night, what if someone sneaks into our company and steals our company's core information? Then we'll be too passive. Leave the security issue to me. Outside the door, Tan Xiu's voice sounded. Immediately after, Tan Xiu followed behind Andy and entered the office. Yuan Chuling and Qing Yannan followed behind them. Boss. Hello, boss. Kang Xia and Wei Zhongfeng called out at the same time. Tan Xiu waved his hand and looked at Kang Xia coming out from her desk. He bluntly walked over and sat down. His fingers tapped on the desk as he said, Kang Xia is right. The company's core secrets must not be stolen. The security force is the most important. I'll deal with the 20 security guards. Kang Xia was astonished. Boss, you can find someone better than the Yinlan security company? Tan Xiu grabbed his cell phone, dialed a number and asked, Xiaoxue, how's the Everlasting Feast Hall's security team? Is it credible? Grand Master, half of the restaurant's security team are experts trained by Master. Although they are not cultivators, their martial arts foundation is very profound. Any one of them is not much worse than those martial arts grandmasters. How many people? Master trained half of them, and I trained the remaining half. Send 20 of them to Star City tomorrow and wait for me at the villa complex in Southgate Town. I've set up a company, so I need trustworthy security guards. Understood. Tan Xiu hung up the phone and looked at Kang Xia, saying, I'll send some security guards to you tomorrow. What's the progress of the company now? Tell me. Kang Xia shot a deep look at Tan Xiu and said, after the security guards are dealt with, only the factory is left. We've investigated more than a dozen factories related to the cosmetics business and finally screened out 3. I'm going to go there myself tomorrow, and then I'll make further plans. Chapter 144. Today's monthly votes amounted to 170 chapters, rounded up to 200, so with the addition of 2 chapters and 2 guaranteed chapters, there will be a total of 4 chapters updated. Also, the Alliance is giving out red packets for monthly tickets. Each red packet contains 500 Qidian coins. Brothers and sisters with monthly tickets, don't miss it. Along with Kang Xia's report, Tan Xiu gradually learned about the development of the magnificent Tang Corporation. What made him satisfied was that Kang Xia was really capable. She had already prepared the preliminary work in a very short time. You did well. Tan Xiu praised and looked at Wei Zhongfeng. Kang Xia quickly said, Boss, I'm in need of manpower now, so I intend to let Wei Zhongfeng help me first. When the company is on the right track, I'll put him in the sales department. Tan Xiu said, Wei Zhongfeng, do you understand the meaning of my decision? If you can understand, maybe I will change my decision and let you directly become a senior executive of the company. After a moment of silence, Wei Zhongfeng respectfully said, Refine. Good, I'm very satisfied with your answer. Tan Xiu nodded. After being hammered and tempered 100 times, it became steel. It seems that Kang Xia was right, you really are a talent. As for the position, let Kang Xia rearrange it. Wei Zhongfeng's face lit up as he quickly nodded and said, Thank you, boss. Tan Xiu waved his hand, signaling Wei Zhongfeng to leave. He got up, walked to the sofa in the office, and sat down. Then, he casually waved his hand at the dumbfounded Yuan Chuling and Qing Yannan, who was frowning. After that, he said to Kang Xia, who was sitting across him, I invited you to work for me, and I also gave you the authority according to your wishes. But I have a few requirements. If you can do it, it proves that my judgment is correct. If you can't, it means that there's a problem with your ability. Kang Xia's complexion changed as she replied with a serious expression, please tell me. I'll give you 3 or 4 months, said Tan Xiu. Before September 1st, everything in the company had to be ready. The production line at the factory had to be completed, and a large number of products had to be stocked up. My first request is to open the sales network nationwide on September 1st, so urgent? Kang Xia was startled and asked in surprise. Tan Xiu said, I'm short of money. I need money. Kang Xia pondered for 2 minutes. A firm look flashed in her eyes as she nodded and said, I'll do it according to your request. Tan Xiu said, the second requirement is that within half a year, I want us to have our own large-scale factory, not only a cosmetics factory, but also a healthcare factory. I can do it. Kang Xia's reply was decisive and decisive. Tan Xiu nodded and said, the third requirement is that our magnificent Tang Corporation must move out of this place within 2 years and set up our company's headquarters in a building that completely belongs to us. Furthermore, the reserve funds in the company's public account should not be less than 10 figures. No problem. Kang Xia nodded heavily. Tan Xiu said, the fourth requirement is also the last one, within 4 years. I want the magnificent Tang Corporation to become one of the top 50 companies in the country. Also, open the door to the international market. For years, Kang Xia was silent. She was well aware of the strength of the top 50 companies in the country. Generally speaking, there were almost no companies that could become the top 50 companies in the country within 4 years. However, the product given to her by Tan Xiu was really too heaven-defying. She had no idea what scale it would develop to after 4 years. What? You can't do it? Tan Xiu asked calmly. I can't guarantee it 100%, but I'll do my best. Kang Xia shook her head. As for opening the door to the international market, I'm not worried about it. Once our products hit the market and cause a huge sensation, I believe that those large foreign cosmetic companies will definitely flock to us. At that time, not only will they think of ways to get the sales rights from our hands, but those ambitious people will also do everything possible to annex our company. Let them come if they have the ability, Tan Xiu sneered. Kang Xia hesitated and said, Boss, if our company insists on not going on the market, they won't be able to get our company's shares. They won't be able to get our company's shares, and it's impossible for them to buy our company. Then we won't go on the market, Tan Xiu said. All right. At the side, sitting on the sofa, Yuan Chuling's heart had already shifted from Andy to Kang Xia. He had a feeling that coming here was like coming to a country of women. Moreover, it was a country of women from the fairy world. Andy was a top-grade Lolita, and her foreign appearance was even more of a killer weapon. Kang Xia, on the other hand, was a soul-stirring beauty. He had seen the #1 beauty in the capital, and even that girl couldn't be compared to Kang Xia. Bang! Qing Yannan, who was sitting next to Yuan Chuling, dropped the teacup in her hand to the floor and smashed it. But she didn't seem to be aware of it. Her beautiful face was full of disbelief as she stared at Kang Xia. Her lips squirmed a few times, but no sound came out. Tan Xiu frowned and asked, Qing Yannan, what's wrong with you? Qing Yannan turned her head with difficulty. When her eyes met with Tan Xiu's, her breathing was rapid as she said, I finally understand why the name Kang Xia sounds familiar. Is she a peerless genius in the business world? The Kang Xia who just came back from Wall Street, the world's financial center? Yes. Tan Xiu nodded. Kang Xia looked at Qing Yannan with interest and said with a smile, I didn't expect my name to be so resounding. This little beauty has also heard of my great name. It's my honor. Qing Yannan suddenly stood up and cried out in disbelief, How is this possible? How can you be Tan Xiu's subordinate? You're a business genius that countless large enterprises in the country want to hire. You. Tan Xiu asked lightly, what? You think I don't have the qualifications to hire Kang Xia? Cheng Yannan instantly realized that she had said something wrong and quickly said, that's not what I meant. I'm just shocked that Kang Xia actually came to Star City and even worked for you. Tan Xiu, you don't know that my second uncle visited the thatched cottage 3 times and personally invited Kang Xia to work for him, but he was rejected every time. Tan Xiu asked with a puzzled expression, who's your second uncle? Cheng Yannan said, Cheng Jiangwo. Kang Xia said with a smile, so you're Cheng Jiangwo's niece. Your uncle indeed visited me 3 times, hoping that I can be the CEO of your Cheng family's company. However, your company's family is too strong, and it's too restrictive. Tan Xiu asked, is the Cheng family very famous? Kang Xia said, it's quite famous. The Cheng family has a place among those big families in the imperial capital. Not only do they have great influence in the political world, but they also have an extraordinary position in the business world. If I remember correctly, Cheng Jiangwo also holds the title of Vice President of the Northern Chamber of Commerce. Tan Xiu looked at Cheng Yannan with an astonished expression and asked, your Cheng family is so famous in the imperial capital. How come you came to Star City to study? Also, how come your sister is working in Star City's criminal investigation unit? It's reasonable to say that with your status and background, it's better for you to develop in the imperial capital. Cheng Yannan was silent. As the saying goes, every family has its own difficulties. Her Cheng family was indeed a big family, but there were too many people they could talk to. If it wasn't for her grandfather, the Cheng family would have been torn apart. The undercurrent of big families was surging, and the phenomenon of power struggle was particularly serious. Her sister was even more unwilling to become a political sacrifice. After rejecting the family's proposal of marriage, she relied on her own ability to work in Star City, and she followed her sister here. Tan Xiu wasn't the kind of person who liked to get to the bottom of things. Seeing that Cheng Yannan didn't want to talk about it, he didn't continue to entangle this issue. He got up and looked at Kang Xia, saying, I still have something to do tonight, so I'll go back first. I'll still say the same words, I'm relieved to hand the company over to you. A few minutes later, Tan Xiu left the magnificent Tang Corp along with Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan. Tonight, not only did he have to give Yuan Chuling's group of 4 tutoring courses, but he also had to find time to study the concoction of healthcare products. At the entrance of the Oriental Golden Seat, a Mercedes-Benz slowly stopped as a woman wearing black high-heeled shoes, lace stockings, a floral skirt, and pink sunglasses came out from the back seat. On the other side, a young man with a reluctant expression slowly got off the car. Big sis, let's talk about it again. I'm really not cut out to do business. It's not a problem for me to casually fiddle with some second-hand goods to earn some pocket money. But managing such a big company like ours is completely impossible. Just do a good deed and let them go. Those 2 guys, Hu Wanjun and Xuerenfei, are still waiting for me at the Puma 4S store. Zhang Yongjin rubbed his temples and spoke with a helpless expression. Zhang Deqin squinted her eyes and lightly said, you can go to the Puma 4S store. But I'll stop all your bank cards within 2 minutes after you leave, cutting off all your sources of income. Also, you've just made a female college student pregnant a few days ago. I'm also going to tell our parents about this matter, so you better get ready to be the groom. What? Zhang Yongjin's body trembled. He quickly squeezed out a smiling face and said, Big sis, you're my biological sister. You can't cheat me like this. I'll listen to you. I'll listen to whatever you say. Isn't it just coming to work at our family's company? No problem. I'll do whatever you arrange. A smile was outlined on the corner of Zhang Deqin's mouth as she said, you're willing to do this. I'm not forcing you. Yes. Zhang Yongjin secretly cursed in his heart, but he didn't dare to deny it. Ever since he was a child, his parents were too busy and didn't have much time to take care of him. But this big sister, who was older than him by 7 or 8 years, became his important guardian. She would take care of everything, big or small. Huh? Suddenly, Zhang Yongjin's eyes focused and his footsteps stopped in an instant. His eyes fell on Tan Xiu, who just came out from the inside. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Zhang Yongjin snorted coldly. Although he was somewhat afraid of Tan Xiu, he felt that he had more courage with his big sister here at the moment. Zhang Deqin was keenly aware of her brother's abnormality. She followed his line of sight and her complexion slightly changed. Nowadays, there weren't many young people who could leave a deep impression on her, but Tan Xiu was definitely one of them. She still remembered the bet with Long Zhengyu last time. If it weren't for this young man in front of her, she would definitely be the final winner. Chapter 145. Tan Xiu's expression was tranquil. When he saw Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin siblings, he only glanced at them and directly ignored them. He had taught Zhang Yongjin many times, and he believed that he had already given him a big lesson. As long as the other party didn't provoke him, he didn't want to bother with this kind of young master. Reincarnation was a skill. Although this sentence was true, but no matter how good one's reincarnation skill was, if one didn't work hard the day after tomorrow, it would be difficult for one to become a great talent. In Tan Xiu's view, Zhang Yongjin belonged to this kind of person. Tan Xiu, right? We meet again. Zhang Deqin stepped forward and blocked the path of the Tan Xiu trio. Tan Xiu frowned and lightly said, "Is there something?" Zhang Deqin said, "I've sent people to investigate you. You're a phoenix that flies out of a chicken coop. Even the two brothers, Long Zhengyu and Long Zhenglin, look up to you. However, I later got the investigation report saying that you bullied my younger brother. Is this true?" Tan Xiu glanced at Zhang Yongjin and indifferently said, "Your parents don't discipline him, so I discipline him for them. Is that wrong?" Zhang Deqin was furious. What she hated the most was people saying that they didn't have parents to discipline them. She even knew that it was taboo for her younger brother to say that. Sure enough, Zhang Yongjin's face was full of anger as he strode to the front of Tan Xiu. He raised his arm and pointed at Tan Xiu, angrily cursing, "Who the fuck do you think you are? Aren't you just relying on your fighting power? What's there to be arrogant about? Whether I have parents to discipline me or not, it's not up to you to comment." Tan Xiu secretly shook his head and said, "To tell you the truth, I really don't feel like paying attention to you. I won't make things difficult for you as long as you don't provoke me. Therefore, I advise you that I'll walk on the single log bridge and you walk on the open road. We'll mind our own business later. Otherwise, even if you have a bit of background, I can make you regret it." Zhang Deqin was so angry that she laughed and coldly said, "What a big tone. Even Long Zhengyu wouldn't dare to say such words to me, right? I want to know. Where does a country bumpkin like you get the courage from?" Yuan Chuling took a step forward and looked at Zhang Deqin with hostility. He snorted and said, "Zhang family's eldest sister is even more arrogant. Tan Xiu is my brother. If you dare to cause trouble for him, don't blame me for beating you up so badly that even your parents won't recognize you." Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin were attracted by Tan Xiu, so they didn't notice Yuan Chuling behind Tan Xiu. Now that they recognized Yuan Chuling's identity, the siblings revealed a trace of fear. However, the Zhang family was not inferior to the Yuan family, so they had nothing to fear. "No wonder you dare to be so arrogant and despotic in front of me. It turns out that apart from Long Zhengyu and his brother, you also have the support of the Yuan family's eldest young master. Tang Xiu, don't tell me you're a coward who always stands behind others." Pa! Tan Xiu's footsteps moved and instantly appeared in front of Zhang Deqin, slapping her face. Zhang Deqin staggered back a few steps as she raised her hand to cover her slapped cheek. Disbelief was written all over her face. Never once had she ever dreamed that Tang Xiu would be so overbearing to the point of immediately hitting her without saying a word. At this moment, she secretly regretted that she didn't bring bodyguards. However, her reaction was fast enough. Her eyes immediately locked on several building security guards not far away and shouted, "Security guards, I'm Zhang Deqin, the general manager of the Zhang Group. Someone is committing murder here. Don't tell me you don't care." Upon hearing this, several security guards immediately ran to her side. They all knew Zhang Deqin's identity, so their eyes were filled with anger as they quickly surrounded Tan Xiu and Yuan Chuling. "Who are you people? Don't you know the rules of the Golden Seat of the East? Put your hands on your head and squat down. Else, don't blame us for being impolite." One of the security captain, a middle-aged man, pointed his electric baton at Tan Xiu and angrily shouted. Tan Xiu coldly smiled and said, "It's not your turn to ask about our identity. Get the hell out of here if you don't want to bring trouble to yourself." The security captain was stunned. He didn't expect that Tan Xiu would be so arrogant. However, he had been working as a security guard in the Oriental Golden Seat for 5 or 6 years. He had seen countless big shots and naturally knew that he couldn't afford to provoke them. Because he didn't know Tan Xiu's identity, he didn't know what to do for a moment. Zhang Deqin angrily shouted, "What are you waiting for? They are committing murder here. As security guards, don't tell me you don't care. Break this brat's legs. I'll bear all the consequences." Several security guards looked at each other. As the security captain silently nodded, they immediately waved their electric batons and rushed toward Tan Xiu. "You're overestimating yourself." Tan Xiu took the lead the moment when Yuan Chuling was about to pounce on him. His fist was very fast. Even though he used less than 1/10 of his strength, it still hit the security captain's face in an instant and sent him flying upside down. At the same time, he kicked the other security guard, causing him to scream as he fell to the ground and fainted. Bam, bam, the remaining 2 security guards were also knocked down by Tan Xiu in just 2 breaths. Zhang Deqin's eyes widened as she looked incredulously at the 4 security guards, who were usually powerful. Yet, in just a few seconds, they were all knocked down by Tan Xiu. In a flash, she was a bit afraid of Tan Xiu. She was afraid that Tan Xiu wouldn't be willing to let this matter go at this moment and would also beat her and her brother up. Tan Xiu indifferently said, "Considering that this is the first time you offended me, I'll give you a chance. Slap yourself 3 times and get the hell out of here. Else, I'm sure you're well aware of what will happen to you." Zhang Yongjin took a step forward as he stared at Tan Xiu and angrily shouted, "Surnamed Tang, I know you're powerful, but don't be too arrogant. We're the ones in the wrong this time. We shouldn't have taken the initiative to provoke you. I can slap myself, but I'll slap myself 3 times. How about it? Do you think you have the qualifications to bargain?" Tan Xiu sneered. 6 slaps. I'll slap myself. Zhang Yongjin angrily shouted. Pa! 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 The loud slaps echoed at the entrance of the Oriental Golden Seat. Many office workers who were passing by all saw this scene. Tan Xiu frowned. He looked at the furious Zhang Deqin and then at Zhang Yongjin. After a moment of silence, he said, "I originally thought that you're just a good-for-nothing trash. But I didn't expect that you still have some guts of a man. You didn't abandon your sister and ran away. Moreover, you're willing to stand in front of her to protect her. Forget it. This matter ends here. If you take the initiative to provoke me again, then don't blame me for being impolite." After saying that, he then walked toward the road outside. Yuan Chuling looked at Tan Xiu with eyes full of admiration. He didn't expect that Tan Xiu would be so powerful that he could knock down 4 robust security guards in just a few seconds. Immediately, he gave Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin a middle finger and left with a face full of disdain. Cheng Yannan had been silent all along, paying attention to the development of the situation. She also didn't expect that Tan Xiu would take the initiative to act, and even win in such an overbearing manner. However, even though she didn't know Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin, she believed that they wouldn't let this matter go after being humiliated at this moment. Perhaps they would retaliate against Tan Xiu. Alas! She sighed inwardly and quickly chased after them. Zhang Deqin's complexion was ashen. A look of resentment appeared in her eyes as she looked at the back of Tan Xiu's group of 3 leaving. She then took out her mobile and dialed a cell number. Tianxiang. My younger brother was beaten. The other party also almost beat me. It's at the entrance of the Oriental Golden Seat. Ah. I'll wait for you at the company. Zhang Yongjin was also full of hatred toward Tan Xiu. Upon hearing the content of his sister's phone call, his eyes suddenly lit up as he said with a pleasantly surprised expression, "Sis, you want my future brother-in-law to act? If he acts, he'll definitely beat Tan Xiu until he pisses his pants and cries for his parents." Zhang Deqin coldly smiled. She looked at Zhang Yongjin's red and swollen cheeks and spoke with a distressed expression, "Is it painful? Do you want to go to the hospital?" Zhang Yongjin shook his head and said, "I'm fine, sis." Zhang Deqin nodded and hatefully said, "Letting Tianxiang clean him up is just the first step. I'll retaliate against him countless times later and kick him out of Star City. Just you wait. He's just a bastard who thinks he knows a few capable friends and dares to be so arrogant. I'll let him know the consequences of offending us." Although Zhang Yongjin was a playboy, he was not a fool. He hesitated for a moment before he spoke in a low voice, "Sis, Long Zhengyu owes Tan Xiu a huge favor. And now, Tan Xiu also has Yuan Chuling by his side. In case the Long and Yuan families join hands, Zhang Deqin sneered, "Do you think those 2 families will go to war with our Zhang family just for a little brat? If Long Hanwen and Yuan Zhengxian aren't fools, they'll clearly know the consequences of fighting with our Zhang family. Even if they can defeat our Zhang family, they won't feel good either." Zhang Yongjin hesitated for a moment before he asked in a low voice, "Sis, how about we send someone to investigate that brat's identity again? In case he has some other background, we can also prepare in advance." Zhang Deqin sneered, "No need to investigate again. The people I sent before are very capable. They've investigated that brat's background very clearly. You can rest assured." "All right." Zhang Yongjin nodded after he heard it. However, he was still a bit uneasy. Perhaps it was because he had been cleaned up by Tan Xiu many times that he was somewhat afraid of Tan Xiu from the bottom of his heart. "Sis, let's not go to the company today, shall we? You can give me the papers you want tomorrow. Since we're going to deal with Tan Xiu, I think it's better to pull Hu Wanjun and Xuerenfei. The 2 of them also hate that brat to the point that their teeth itch. If they know that you've personally sent people to deal with him, they'll definitely help you from the side." Zhang Yongjin said in a low voice. Zhang Deqin pondered for a moment before she praised, "Yongjin, you're right. If the Hu and Shui families are involved in this matter, then even if the Long and Yuan families want to stand up for that brat, they'll have to think twice. Go. Find them and tell them to come to the company to see me." "All right." Zhang Yongjin complied. He covered his face and quickly left. Chapter 146. By the time Tan Xiu returned to Southgate Town, dinner had already been prepared. To his surprise, not only did he have a few more mouths to eat, but he also saw some unexpected people. A smile hung on Li Liping's face. Her eyes swept over Yuan Chuling and Qing Yannan, and then fell on Tan Xiu's face. She then said with a smile, "Mr. Tang, I took the liberty to visit you. I came here because I found something important, so I want to discuss it with you." "Is it about Gu Yin's study?" Tan Xiu asked. Li Liping nodded and said, "Yes. The 3 teachers of our training class found an important problem after they trained Gu Yin. Therefore, we reformulated the teaching plan. Would you like to take a look at it now?" Tan Xiu waved and said, "You haven't eaten yet, right?" Since you've come, let's eat together. This, Li Liping was a bit hesitant. Mu Qingping said with a smile, yeah. I've cooked a lot of dishes. If Boss Li and the 3 teachers don't mind, have a meal with us. I'm very grateful to you for tutoring my daughter's homework. This meal is my way of expressing my gratitude. Li Liping nodded and said with a smile, then we'll respectfully accept. Gu Yin trotted to Tan Xiu's side. She held Tan Xiu's hand and said with a grin, Master, I found that I've become smarter. I've learned a lot of the knowledge in the textbook by myself. I can also remember all the knowledge taught by the 3 teachers. Tan Xiu smiled as he stroked Gu Yin's small head and said, You've done a good job. In order to reward you, Master has decided to give you a set of test papers every month to observe your progress. N. Gu Yin replied with a grin. After dinner, Tan Xiu called Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan to the conference room and instructed them to review first while waiting for the arrival of Xia Wanfen and Li Shaoqian. Subsequently, he went to Gu Yin's room on the 2nd floor. When he saw the middle-aged teacher teaching Gu Yin, he looked at Li Liping and then turned around and walked out of the door. In the living room on the 1st floor, Tan Xiu and Li Liping were sitting on the sofa, tasting the fragrant tea sent by Mu Qingping. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he keenly discovered that Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan were stealthily looking towards the living room from the corridor. Moreover, both of their ears were pricked up. It was obvious that they wanted to eavesdrop on the conversation between him and Li Liping. Mr. Tang, this is the lesson plan that we have reformulated. We were supposed to give it to you yesterday, but we couldn't contact you, so I came here in person today. Li Liping handed over a folder and said softly. After receiving it, Tan Xiu took out the plan and read it. Then, he nodded and said, I have no opinion on the study plan you've drawn up. After all, those teachers are the ones who teach you. What I want to ask is, how is Yinin's learning progress? Will she be able to adapt to accelerated education? If we hadn't talked to Yinin's mother, we wouldn't have believed that she was only in the 2nd grade. She's too smart. I've seen at least 9,999 children, but I've never seen such a smart child. She's a fast learner, so fast that our teachers can't keep up with her pace. A satisfied smile appeared on Tan Xiu's face as he said, If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble the teachers of your company. I won't say many words of thanks, but I'll show it with my actions. Just name your price. I'll transfer it to you now. There will be 3 teachers teaching every month, and each teacher will be paid 20,000 yuan. That is to say, 60,000 yuan per month. There will be more than 3 months until September 1st, so we'll charge a total of 180,000 yuan for 3 months. Just look at the price. No problem, Tan Xiu happily said. As long as there's no problem with your teaching, the price is negotiable. Quickly. Tan Xiu then transferred 180,000 yuan to Li Liping's account using his mobile phone. Li Liping got up and said with a smile, Mr. Tang, we've talked about everything. Let's see the results of our child's learning. I won't disturb you any longer. Goodbye. Tan Xiu sent Li Liping out of the door and watched her disappear outside the courtyard. Then, he turned his head and lightly said, Have you 2 heard enough? Come out. Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan came out with a surprised look on their faces. Cheng Yannan curiously asked, Tan Xiu, how did you know we were eavesdropping? Do you have X-ray vision? Or clairvoyant hearing? I have a 360-degree detector with no blind spots, Tan Xiu snappily said. You can also call it X-ray vision. It doesn't matter who's wearing clothes or not wearing clothes in front of me. Go to hell. Cheng Yannan's pretty face turned red as she shyly cursed and turned around to run to the conference room. Yuan Chuling watched Cheng Yannan's back disappear. Then, he turned around and looked at Tan Xiu. He gave him a thumbs up and praised, Awesome, you're really awesome. Eldest brother, how come I didn't realize that your eloquence and intelligence are as good as yours? Tan Xiu said with a smile, I also didn't realize that your flattery skill has reached the point of perfection. Don't talk nonsense with me and quickly review your homework. I've made a military pledge in front of Miss Han. If your results in the college entrance test can't make everyone's eyes light up, then it'll be my failure. I guarantee I'll complete the task. Ever since Yuan Chuling knew that his parents' divorce was fake, he had been full of motivation in his studies. Now, with the help of Tan Xiu's peculiar remedial method, it made him even more full of fighting spirit. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Inside the VIP ward, Su Shangguan and his wife, Zhang Meiyun, were standing in front of Su Lingyun. They looked down at Su Lingyun, who was lying on the hospital bed, with a mocking expression in their eyes. They were originally preparing to plot against Su Lingyun, but they didn't expect that even the heavens didn't like Su Lingyun, causing her to suffer an undeserved calamity. Little sister, big brother doesn't want to criticize you. You're already an adult, yet you still can't let others worry about you. How are you now? You were beaten, right? Are you injured? I've been to your small restaurant, and it was smashed miserably by others. I think, according to your assets, you've already spent a lot of money to be hospitalized. I'm afraid you don't have the money to renovate it, right? Su Shangguan said with a strong sarcastic tone. Zhang Meiyun also had a gloating expression on her face as she said, that's right. When our family's Shangguan went to borrow money from you, you said that it was only 100,000 yuan. Your injuries aren't light, and I don't know which deity blessed you to be able to stay in such a high-class ward. You must be spending a lot of money every day, right? If you don't have the money to renovate the smashed restaurant, I think you might as well transfer it to us. If you don't have a place to go, it doesn't matter. After you recover, you can stay in the restaurant and work. Every month. I'll give you 2,000 yuan. It's not a small amount, right? 2,000 yuan. Su Lingyun looked at her brother and sister-in-law in pain. Her heart ached as if it was being pricked by needles. She knew many years ago that her brother and sister-in-law didn't like her, and they were very shameless. But she never dreamed that they would be shameless to this extent. Wasn't their request the same as looting a burning house? A salary of 2,000 yuan seemed not low, but the salary of the ordinary staff in her restaurant was higher than this. Get the hell out of here. Su Lingyun wanted to get up and drive them away, but she was injured. She knew that even if she got up, she was not their match. Su Shangwen's face turned cold. He glared at Su Lingyun and shouted, Su Lingyun, don't be so ungrateful. If you transfer that small restaurant to me, I may give you a sum of money, enough for you and your mother to live a comfortable life in the future. But if you insist on going about things the wrong way, you'll have to suffer in the future. Su Lingyun angrily said, didn't you say you don't have money? Where will you get the money to give me? I don't have money now, but I can owe you. Su Shangguan said. I'll naturally give it to you when I have money. Do you think I'll lie to you? You, shameless. Su Lingyun was sure that if she really transferred the restaurant to Su Shangguan, he would never give her money in the future. This was clearly extortion. It was the emotional card. She had seen it too many times from Su Shangguan. She was kind, but it didn't mean she was stupid. She knew too well what kind of character her brother was. The nurse at the side said, the two of you, the patient needs to rest. Please leave. Zhang Meiyun glared and angrily looked at the nurse and scolded, mind your own business. This is our family's business. What does it have to do with you? Get the hell out of here and don't shout anymore. The nurse angrily said, what are you talking about? If you don't leave, I'll immediately call the hospital's security. Zhang Meiyun sneered, try calling the security, will you? Believe it or not, I won't be driven away. I'll even make you lose your job, won't I? A nobody is a fucking nobody. I've given you some face and you've turned the sky upside down. Su Shangguan also coldly said, meddling in other people's family affairs. Is this how you behave? I advise you to do what you need to do. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The nurse had heard about Su Lingyun's matter and had also seen Tan Xiu. She knew that the dean attached great importance to Tan Xiu. If he knew about it, he would probably be on her side. Therefore, she didn't take Su Shangwen and Zhang Meiyun's threats seriously. She quickly took out her mobile phone and dialed the hospital's security number. Okay, I'll be there soon. The one who answered the phone was the security captain, Chen Tao. The nurse hung up the phone and angrily said, I've already informed the hospital's security. If you don't leave now, you'll be driven out. Su Shangwen and Zhang Meiyun looked at each other with a bit of worry in their eyes. However, Su Shangwen was, after all, the boss of Shangwen Real Estate. Even though many of his old friends were avoiding him, there were still some people he could invite, such as a certain acquaintance of the Chinese medical hospital's vice president. Hello, old Lu. I'm Su Shangwen. Shangwen Real Estate's Su Shangwen. Yeah, I say, what's going on with your hospital? I took your sister-in-law to the hospital's inpatient department to visit my younger sister. Because of a dispute over some family matters, your hospital's nurse humiliated us in every possible way. She even called the security to clean us up. Then I'll have to trouble you. I'll wait for you here. VIP ward, yes, the room number is. Chapter 147. After Su Shangwen finished the phone call, he coldly looked at the nurse and said, if you apologize to us now and then obediently get lost, I'll pretend that nothing has happened. Wait for my vice president's friend to come, I can also put in some good words for you. Otherwise, you can just wait to pack your bedding and get lost. A dog relying on its master's power. The nurse was also a straightforward person. Upon seeing that Su Shangwen called a vice president, she immediately became furious. She didn't believe that the hospital's vice president could be more powerful than the president. So, she dashed outside the door and stood in the corridor, shouting, Director, are you there? Someone is causing trouble. The inpatient department's director's office was only 3 wards away from Su Lingyun's ward. Because the door was open at the moment, he was sorting out the documents. Upon hearing the shout from outside, his complexion immediately changed as he strode out of the office. It must be known. This was a VIP ward, and the patients who could stay here were either rich or noble. If any of them had an accident here, he would have to bear the consequences. What's going on? After seeing the nurse, the inpatient department's director's complexion greatly changed again. He recognized the nurse as the one responsible for taking care of Su Lingyun. The nurse loudly said, Director, some people are causing trouble in the patient's ward. I told them to leave, but they threatened me and even acted arrogant and despotic in front of me. They even called our hospital's vice president surnamed Lu, wanting the hospital to kick me out. You have to give me justice. They bullied the patients and also bullied me. The inpatient department's director was angry. Although the troublemaker had called the hospital's vice president, he wasn't afraid at all. One must know who was protecting Su Lingyun. It was the president. Who was the most powerful person in the entire Star City Chinese Medical Hospital? Naturally, it was the president. However, he was not a brainless person. He didn't want to easily offend a vice president. Therefore, he directly took out his mobile and dialed President Li Hongji's cell number. Who is it? Li Hongji's dignified voice came from the phone. The inpatient department's director said, President, I'm the inpatient department's Little Wang. I have an important matter to report to you, and I need to hear your opinion. Li Hongji asked, What is it? The inpatient department director quickly said, President, I just received a report that someone is causing trouble in our VIP ward. Moreover, that person seems to have some background. He's clamoring to fire a nurse in our hospital. He also called our hospital's vice president Lu. What do you think about this matter? Li Hongji angrily said, causing trouble in the hospital. Even if he's the heavenly king, he can't do it. Have you notified security? Ask the security guards to throw him out. All right. The director of the inpatient department readily agreed. He rolled his eyes and said again, Director, then I will execute your order. As for Deputy Director Liu, I'll call him. Li Hongji said in a deep voice. The inpatient department director quickly said, Thank you, President. By the way, the troublemaker is in Su Lingyun's ward. All right, I got it. Li Hongji impatiently hung up the phone. Just as he searched for Vice President Liu's cell phone number, his face suddenly stagnated because a young face emerged in his mind. Su Lingyun. Isn't that Tan Xiu's mother? Li Hongji abruptly got up. He was too lazy to make the call and strode toward the office door. Inside the inpatient department's VIP ward, Su Shangguan looked at the inpatient department director who just rushed in. His brows deeply furrowed. However, he was someone who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Relying on the vice president's friend as his backing, he didn't take the inpatient department director seriously and said in a deep voice, Looking at you wearing a white coat, you should be the leader of this hospital, right? What's going on with your hospital? Even a nurse is relying on her master's power. My younger sister is hospitalized here. Can't I, as her brother, come to see her? Sir, please pay attention to your words. The inpatient department director's expression turned cold. After saying that, he turned to look at the nurse. The nurse quickly said, Director, they're going too far. Not only did they humiliate Miss Su, but they also wanted to seize her family's restaurant. I saw that Miss Su needed to rest, so I asked them to leave. But they scolded me and even threatened me. You see, they bullied Miss Su to the point that she cried. The inpatient department director glanced at Su Lingyun and felt a bit pitiful for this woman. Having such a shameless older brother could be considered as having 8 lifetimes of bad luck. The two of you, this is the VIP ward. If the patient doesn't welcome you, please leave now. Also, I don't care if you know Vice President Liu or not. The patients here are the most important. Su Shangguan sneered, If my memory serves me right, the vice president should have the highest position in your Chinese medical hospital, right? I'm afraid you don't have the qualifications to drive me away. If you have anything to say, wait until Vice President Liu comes. The inpatient department director indifferently said, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Vice President Liu is very busy. I'm afraid he has no time to come here. Su Shangguan frowned and coldly said, Don't be too arrogant. Whether he can come or not is not up to you. I've already made a phone call to confirm it. He'll be here soon. I really want to see if you still dare to say such words when Vice President Liu comes. The inpatient department director sneered inwardly. He was too lazy to pay attention to Su Shangguan, who was pestering endlessly and took advantage of his power to bully others. He squeezed out a smile on his face as he came to the sick bed and asked about her well-being. Miss Su, you're injured now, so don't be too sad. As the saying goes, even if the sky collapses, there's a tall one to hold it up. Even if it's inconvenient for Mr. Tang to come, our hospital will not sit idly by. Su Lingyun stopped crying and nodded silently. Mr. Tang. Su Shangguan and Zhang Meiyun looked at each other with a confused expression. Who was this inpatient department director talking about? Was it Tan Xiu? This couldn't be true, right? Tan Xiu was just a student. Even if he had done something and had a relationship with the Long Group's boss, even if the Endless Virtue Pharmaceuticals boss was bewitched and thought that Tan Xiu was a capable person, but his true colors should have been revealed by now. Zhang Meiyun hesitated for a moment before she loudly asked, Director, who is this Mr. Tang you're talking about? Is it that little bastard Tan Xiu? On the sick bed, Su Lingyun was like an enraged lion as she angrily shouted, You're not allowed to scold my son. Get the hell out of here. Zhang Meiyun sneered, I scolded your bastard son, so what? He's just a lowly bastard born from his mother but raised by no father, yet you still shamelessly defend him. You're really sick in the head. Who's making trouble here? A loud shout came from outside the door as the security captain, Chen Tao, rushed into the room with 3 hospital security guards. The inpatient department's director looked at Su Shangwen and Zhang Meiyun with a disgusted expression as he said in a deep voice, "It's the two of them. Drive them out. Beat them if they dare to resist. Throw them to the orthopedics department as long as they don't die. I'll take responsibility for this." Upon receiving the order, Chen Tao immediately grabbed Su Shangwen's collar and fiercely slapped his face. Then, he dragged him out of the room like a dead dog. "Stop!" Vice President Liu, along with two middle-aged doctors, rushed over. When they saw the scene in front of them, they immediately became anxious and angry as they shouted. Chen Tao stared blankly for a moment. He knew Vice President Liu, but he didn't expect that a big leader like him would come here. After hesitating for a moment, he turned to look at the inpatient department's director and finally released Su Shangwen. Vice President Liu fiercely glared at Chen Tao. Then, he squeezed out a smile and apologized, "Boss Su, I'm really sorry. The quality of our hospital's security guards is not high. They even fought with you. You can rest assured about this matter. I'll deal with it seriously and give you a satisfactory explanation." When the inpatient department's director stepped out of the VIP ward's door and saw Vice President Liu rushing over, a surprised expression flashed in his eyes. He didn't understand why Vice President Liu still dared to rush over after the president had spoken. However, he still plucked up his courage and said, "Vice President Liu, I hope you won't intervene in this matter. This couple is making trouble in the VIP ward and seriously disturbing the patient's condition. Boss Su told me clearly on the phone that he brought his wife to visit his hospitalized younger sister. Is there anything wrong with that? Also, when did that nurse have the right to make things difficult for the patient's family? What kind of place does she think our hospital is?" The inpatient department's director argued, "Vice President Liu, you can't just listen to one side of the story. I saw with my own eyes that the couple humiliated the patient. They're very arrogant and domineering. Also, don't talk to me about that. How can our hospital interfere with the patient's family's private affairs? You don't have the right to teach me what to say and what to do." His heart was filled with anger. As the Chinese medical hospital's vice president, he was one of the best candidates for the next president. If there were no accidents, it wouldn't take long for him to become the president of the Chinese medical hospital. But at this moment, someone dared to challenge his authority, which made him understand the hatred in his heart. He absolutely wanted to punish the chicken to warn the monkey, and erect a tough image for his candidacy for the president. "Director Wang, I think you've been in the position of the inpatient department's director for too long. I think it's time for you to move. I'll personally report this matter to the president. I hope you're mentally prepared." Vice President Liu sneered. The inpatient department's director was silent for a moment, and then slowly said, "You don't need to personally report it. I've already reported it to the president." "That's right." As the inpatient department's director's voice faded away, a dignified voice sounded in the corridor. Four leaders of the Chinese medical hospital arrived under the leadership of Li Hongji, and the one who spoke was none other than Li Hongji. "Vice President Liu, you haven't become the president yet, but you're already showing off your power and prestige? An inpatient department's director is not someone you can dismiss, is it? At the very least, you have to be able to sit in my position one day. Director Wang has already told me what happened. I don't care what kind of relationship you have with the patient's family or what kind of interests you have. In our hospital, the patient is the most important. Recently, some people have been leaving bad comments in the book review and comments section, making Quiet Night particularly speechless. What makes Quiet Night most depressed is that the people who are insulting Quiet Night are those guys with 0 fan points, which seriously affects the mood of writing. Quiet Night just wants to quietly tell stories, and I really don't like to quarrel. Quiet Night can't guarantee that everyone will like my story, but it's fine as long as the people who like it like it. Anyway, I'm full of tears. Let's go out and drink some beer to relieve the boredom." Chapter 148. Vice President Liu's pupils shrunk. He didn't expect that this matter would make the president personally come here. Moreover, his attitude was very obvious. He was standing on the side of Director Wang, the patient. Damn it! This bastard Su Shangguan has caused me to suffer miserably. Vice President Liu secretly groaned in his heart, but a bitter expression was revealed on his face as he said, "President, this matter needs to be investigated clearly. I suspect that the nurse is stirring up discord. Even if there is some contradiction between the patient's family and the patient, perhaps they can resolve it with a few words. It's not a big deal." With a cold expression, Li Hongji said, "Even if there is a contradiction, get the fuck out of the hospital first. The patient is now hospitalized. Do you want to see the patient's condition worsen?" This, Vice President Liu was rendered speechless by Su Shangguan's words, and his resentment towards Su Shangguan deepened. Li Hongji looked at Su Shangguan and indifferently said, "You must be the patient's family member, right? I've seen ignorant people, but I've never seen someone as ignorant as you. The patient is your family member, yet you don't care about her physical condition and even hurt her even more. Is this the so-called behavior of a family member? Now, I declare it. Our hospital doesn't welcome people like you. I hope you can leave immediately. Otherwise, our hospital's security guards won't just sit around and eat." After Li Hongji's arrival, Su Shangguan's heart had fallen to the bottom. Now that he heard Li Hongji's words, his whole body turned cold and a disbelieving expression appeared on his face. He couldn't understand why Li Hongji, the president of the Chinese medical hospital, would protect Su Lingyun like this. "Mr. Tang." As Su Shangguan recalled the name the inpatient department's owner had just called him, a gurgling sound suddenly came out from his throat. He didn't believe that this Mr. Tang was Tan Xiu, because a young high school student didn't have the qualifications to make the Chinese medical hospital's president make such a big fuss. Was it because of Vice President Liu? Could it be that the president wanted to punish Vice President Liu, but he couldn't find the opportunity? Now, he wanted to use this matter to start preparing to punish Vice President Liu? If this was the case, then he was implicated by Vice President Liu? As Su Shangguan thought up to there, an apologetic expression immediately appeared on his face as he said, "President Li, I've long heard of your great name. You're the divine doctor of our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Vice President Liu and I are just ordinary friends. If he offends you, Dean, you can just punish him directly. Don't drag me into this. Su Shangguan, you bastard." Deputy Director Liu never dreamed that Su Shangguan would sell him out in the blink of an eye, and he did it so simply and so ruthlessly. Su Shangguan angrily said, "Vice President Liu, you should be responsible for your own actions. You don't need to involve others in the grudge between you and the president, do you? We are just ordinary people. We don't want to get involved in your problems. My wife and I are here to visit my sister. Now that we are done, we will not stay any longer. Goodbye." Su Shangguan, Vice President Liu was so angry that he fainted. A nefarious fire surged in his brain. He didn't think and rushed towards Su Shangguan, who was about to leave. His fist fiercely pounded on Su Shangguan's head. He needed to vent. He needed to vent out the grievances and hatred in his heart, and the target was not the patient Su Lingyun, nor was it the nurse or the inpatient department's director, nor was it President Li, but the treacherous Su Shangguan who sold him out. His fists were like raindrops that pounded on Su Shangguan's body. Even if Su Shangguan fell to the ground, he didn't want to give up. He hit Su Shangguan until he screamed pitifully. "Stop right there." Zhang Meiyun was stunned by the scene in front of her. She never dreamed that her husband's reinforcements would unexpectedly hit her husband. Moreover, they were so ruthless. After she reacted, she immediately rushed toward Vice President Liu, trying to push him away. Chen Tao's eyes and hands were quick. He instantly blocked Zhang Meiyun's side and pushed her to the ground. Li Hongji was dumbfounded as he looked at the scene in front of him. He never thought that Vice President Liu would actually hit Su Shangguan. However, when he came to his senses, he suddenly felt that Vice President Liu was also a pitiful person. He anxiously ran over to stand up for Su Shangwen, but he didn't expect that he would be bitten by Su Shangwen instead. Alas, after letting out a sigh, Li Hongji made a gesture to the security guards beside him. Immediately, the security guards pulled Vice President Liu up from Su Shangwen's body. Li Hongji waved his hand and ordered, "Send him to the emergency room and have someone check him. If there's nothing wrong with his body, drive him out. Remember, pay attention to this in the future. If he dares to come to our hospital to make trouble again, directly drive him away. If he doesn't let it go, directly call the police." "Yes," Chen Tao loudly said. Accompanied by several hospital leaders, Li Hongji came to the VIP ward and condoled with Su Lingyun before they left. As for the inpatient department's director and the nurse, he praised them. As for how to deal with Vice President Liu, Li Hongji already had a decision in his heart. He decided to report the whole matter to the health bureau and then wait for the disposal order from the top. Inside the VIP ward, Su Lingyun's face was ashen. Although the president and the hospital leaders expressed their concern for her, the pain in her heart didn't lessen at all. Who was Su Shangwen? He was her blood brother. She only knew that Su Shangwen was somewhat shameless before, but she didn't expect that he would be shameless to this extent. With the help of the nurse, she came to the door of the ward and saw everything clearly. When Su Shangwen bit back at Vice President Liu, she deeply felt humiliated for having such a blood brother. "It seems that my son has seen through everything. Su Shangwen and Zhang Meiyun are not human. Since we can't be relatives, we can only be strangers in the future." At this moment, Su Lingyun finally hardened her heart and decided to cut off all contact with Su Shangwen's family. What happened in the hospital, there were still people hiding in the dark who clearly saw it. They were Banzhou and Dingzi. The two of them had been watching, but Su Shangwen and Zhang Meiyun didn't do anything to hurt Su Lingyun, so the two of them didn't come out. Everything that happened after that was witnessed by them. After everything settled down, Banzhou dialed Tan Xiu's cell number and narrated everything in full detail. Southgate Town. Tan Xiu, who was tutoring Yuan Chuling and the other three, was silent for a long time after receiving the phone call. He had long known that Su Shangwen and his wife were scourges, but he had always taken his mother's feelings into consideration and didn't ruthlessly kill them. Now that they dared to provoke him again and again, he finally couldn't stand it anymore. That night, Tan Xiu made 2 phone calls, one was to Qin Zhizhong, and the other was to Long Zhengyu. His intention was very clear, not only to let Shangwen real estate go bankrupt, but also to make Su Shangwen never have a chance to make a comeback. It would be best if he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Early in the morning, as Yuan Chuling and the other 3 students had fallen asleep, he went to the warehouse alone, locked the door from the inside, and then began to experiment with the proportion of healthcare products. Because it was for commercial sale, Tan Xiu had to be extra careful. He didn't dare to make the slightest mistake. After repeated experiments and constant configuration, he finally succeeded in mixing the proportion of Chinese medicine for the healthcare products after 15 experiments. The efficacy of the medicine was only 1/10 of the one given to Long Jinglin, but the amount of liquid was dozens of times more. He calculated and judged that it would take 20 bottles of healthcare products to be comparable to the small bottle taken by Long Jinglin. Small and steady, this was the way to make money. Tan Xiu's eyes flashed, and the corner of his mouth slightly outlined a faint smile. He felt that once this healthcare product hit the market, once it was recognized by a small number of people, it would begin to explode. Even its explosive sales should be even better than those 2 cosmetics. Tan Xiu wrote the proportion of the medicinal herbs on a piece of paper, and then put the successful product into the prepared bottle in advance. After that, he opened the lock of the warehouse and returned to the villa. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, it was already the next evening. Tan Xiu returned to Southgate Town from the school, and then he saw a scene that made him frown. More than 20 big men in black suits were neatly standing at the side of the gate. Opposite them, more than 30 security guards of Southgate Town were confronting them as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Long Shuiao, the property manager of Southgate Town, was frowning as she looked at the 20 big men in front of her. She wanted to call the police, but she didn't have any reason. These people were extremely disciplined. They didn't enter the villa area, nor did they cause trouble. Even the other party's leaders said that they came here to wait for the boss. Long Shuiao was really curious. What kind of big shot could become the boss of these people? What kind of sacred being was he? The security guards of her property were all retired soldiers, and they had extremely high military attainments. Whether it was discipline or combat effectiveness, ordinary people were unable to compare with them. However, the security guards of her property were simply not on the same level as the opposite party. Suddenly, Long Shuiao's eyes lit up. After seeing the arrival of Tan Xiu, she threw away the worries in her heart and greeted him with a beaming smile. "Hello, Mr. Tang. You're back." "Yeah, I just finished school." Tan Xiu nodded and said. "Finished school?" Long Shuiao still didn't know that Tan Xiu was a student. Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, she was secretly surprised. However, she just suppressed the surprise in her heart. She turned her head to look at the scene not far away and explained with a forced smile, "I'm really sorry, Mr. Tang. I don't know where these 20 guys came from. They said that they want to wait for their boss. But don't worry, the security guards of our villa area are here. They won't disturb the order of the villa area." Tan Xiu looked at the 20 big men who stood straight like statues. He was quite satisfied inside. He could see that Gu Xiaoxue had sent the elites of the everlasting feast hall. He retracted his gaze and looked at Long Shuiao as he calmly said, "It's good that they won't disturb the order of the villa area. I'm their boss." Chapter 149. What? Long Shuiao was dumbfounded. She stared blankly at Tan Xiu's tranquil face as stormy waves rose inside her heart. It was because she had never dreamed that those 20 big men turned out to be Tan Xiu's men. Who exactly was he? Long Shuiao's curiosity toward Tan Xiu had reached an extremely high level. Ever since Long Zhengyu gave Tan Xiu the King Villa in Southgate Town, she had been a bit curious about Tan Xiu. Although they didn't get to know each other much, her curiosity toward Tan Xiu increased every time they met. She wanted to know Tan Xiu's identity and everything about Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu said, "They're my men, so I'll take them away. But I need to go back and change my clothes. Can I take them inside now?" All right. Please." Long Shuiao sobered up from her sluggish state and quickly replied. Tan Xiu nodded. He then walked to the front of the 20 big men and said with a deep voice, "The person you're looking for is me. Come with me." After that, he then walked towards Southgate Town without looking back. The 20 big men had seen Tan Xiu's photo and recognized Tan Xiu's identity at this moment. None of them uttered a word, nor did they whisper to each other. They were silent as they lined up neatly behind Tan Xiu and walked towards Southgate Town. They entered the villa's courtyard. Tan Xiu looked at the two neat teams and calmly said, "I'm Tan Xiu. I believe you already know that I've been to the Everlasting Feast Hall twice. I've been to the Everlasting Feast Hall twice, so perhaps some of you have seen me. Starting today, I'm your boss. My only requirement is that you obey my orders. My orders are above everything else. Can you do it?" "Yes, boss." The 20 big men shouted in unison. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, "I'll give you a welcoming dinner tonight. You'll be staying in Star City for a long time. Of course, I don't have time to manage you. I will hand you over to the general manager of my company. She will be fully responsible for your food, clothing, housing, and transportation. You will also have to listen to her arrangements." Long's dining hall. Tan Xiu called to reserve a private room, but was told that there were no rooms available. Tan Xiu had no choice but to call Chen Zhizhong and ask him to help reserve a private room. There was a clear distinction between people of high and low status. Tan Xiu did not care about this outcome. What he was interested in was not the present, but the future. As the saying goes, the river flows east for 30 years before it flows west for 30 years. The wheel of fortune changes. Perhaps in the future, when he goes to the Long's dining hall for a meal, they will treat it as a kind of honor. When Chen Zhizhong told Tan Xiu the number of the private room, Tan Xiu let the 20 strong men rush over first. He needed to take a shower and change his clothes. Moreover, he also had to bring along the healthcare products he had prepared last night, as well as the formula. When he saw Kang Xia in the evening, he had to hand over the 20 strong men and the things to her. Half an hour later, when Tan Xiu left the South Gate town's gate, he was already being watched. However, Tan Xiu did not notice it as he directly took a taxi to the Long's dining hall. After entering the private room, he saw a strange expression on Kang Xia's face. Tan Xiu looked at the 20 strong men sitting in front of the long table as though they were stone statues. He then looked at Kang Xia's strange expression and said with a faint smile, "What's wrong? You're not satisfied with the people I found?" Kang Xia forced a smile and said, "It's not that I'm not satisfied, but I'm very satisfied. Boss, I've seen the best security guards in the world. Almost all of them are retired special forces soldiers from various countries. They have extremely high military attainments and strong individual combat ability. They can even puff out their chests to welcome death to protect their clients. However, those people seem to be a bit worse compared to these 20 people. Is it that outrageous?" Tan Xiu was surprised. "Absolutely." Kang Xia nodded. "I've observed them for a full 26 minutes and 30 seconds. They've been sitting here without moving. Even their eyes hardly blinked. If I hadn't seen them come in with my own eyes, I would have thought that they were dummies." Tan Xiu glanced at the 20 people and said with a faint smile, "Gentlemen, I'm giving you a welcoming dinner tonight, as well as giving you some time to rest. You don't need to restrain yourselves, nor do you need to maintain such discipline. I've seen a lot of iron-blooded warriors. They have strict discipline on the battlefield and bravely kill the enemy. But when they rest, they drink wine and eat meat, feeling carefree and carefree." The eyes of the 20 strong men lit up at the same time. They looked at each other and immediately nodded. Then, they got up and cupped their fists toward Tan Xiu and said, "Thank you, boss." Tan Xiu said with a smile, "Yan is my apprentice. She's trained you well. If you perform your duties faithfully in the future and get my satisfaction, maybe I'll let you embark on another path." "Another path?" The 20 big men's bodies trembled violently as fanatical looks appeared in their eyes. They were all personally trained by Gu Yan. She adopted them when they were 6 or 7 years old and trained them for 20 to 30 years. It could be said that they were Gu Yan's trusted subordinates. Likewise, they were also aware of Gu Yan's identity as an immortal cultivator. Immortal cultivation. The slow and solemn path of immortal cultivation was a solemn and stirring one. They were all iron-like men who had been trained by Gu Yan in extremely cruel and ruthless methods since childhood. Gu Yan had paid a great price to make them sneak into war-torn areas abroad to fight and survive there. They were even sent by Gu Yan to the vast isolated island to hunt fierce beasts. It could be said that their hands were stained with blood as they grew up, and killing had long been integrated into their bones. They were not afraid of death, loneliness, or a tragic and stirring future. They needed stimulation, passion, and blood to forge their future path. Immortal path. Their lifespan would increase, and their world would open a new chapter. They even hoped that one day, they could be like Gu Yan, riding a flying sword and traversing the 4 seas. "Thank you, boss." The 20 big men pushed the tables and chairs, knelt on one knee, cupped their fists and shouted. Their sonorous and powerful voices were deafening. Even though Kang Xia was experienced and knowledgeable, she was still shocked by the scene in front of her. In a trance, she seemed to see not 20 security guards, but the iron-blooded private army trained by Tan Xiu. "What are you staring at?" Go arrange the food and wine. Tan Xiao looked at the dazed Kang Xiao and said with a smile. Kang Xia was like waking up from a dream. She quickly said, all right, all right, all right. I'll go. No, I've already arranged the best food and wine in the Long's dining hall. They should be sent soon. Have a seat. Tan Xiao said with a smile. Don't restrain yourself today. Relax, drink, and eat. After today, everyone will be busy. It was a full 2 hours. Tang Xiao and Kang Xia accompanied the 20 big men who were eating and drinking to their heart's content. They watched them finish the 40 bottles of spirits, yet their faces were flushed and they weren't drunk at all. Tang Xiao and Kang Xia were secretly satisfied. Men who could drink were all good men. However, when everyone was ready to leave the Long's dining hall, Kang Xia paid the bill and came back with an ugly expression. After Tang Xiao inquired about the result, he learned that they had eaten nearly 2 million yuan for this meal. The magnificent Tang Corporation was currently short of money. Even though Kang Xia had seen a lot of money, she still felt pain in her heart. Near the Long's dining hall's entrance, Zhu Tianxiang and his 4 martial brothers were quietly observing the guests coming in and out of the Long's dining hall. Around them were dozens of hoodlums with concealed weapons. His fiancé and brother-in-law were beaten. This was undoubtedly a slap on Zhu Tianxiang's face, making him furious. Senior brother, that kid has been inside for 2 hours. Even if they eat slowly, I'm afraid he'll be finished soon. Brothers, get ready. Once that kid comes out, we'll immediately take action. He dares to hit our future martial sister-in-law. He's really tired of living. A middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks touched his chin and spoke with a sinister tone. Zhu Tianxiang coldly said, even if we must take action, we can't do it in front of the Long's dining hall's entrance. There are a lot of people around here. Once we gang up on them, it will definitely cause panic. Maybe the police will also come looking for us. We'll still follow him and wait until we reach a place with fewer people. The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks nodded and said, I'll listen to your arrangement, senior brother. In any case, I won't be able to sleep if I don't cripple that kid today. At this time, Tan Xiao and Kang Xia walked side by side inside the Long's dining hall's entrance. You're not going with them? Tan Xiao looked at Kang Xia with a surprised expression. Those 20 big men had gone to the underground parking lot, yet Kang Xia followed him out. Kang Xia said with a smile, if boss doesn't go, how can I dare to go? Tan Xiao thought for a moment and then lightly said, you have something to ask me, right? Say it. I'll answer you if I can. Kang Xia gave a thumbs up and praised, boss is indeed boss. My little thoughts can't be concealed from you. Actually, I just want to ask you about one thing. Those 20 security guards, where did you find them, boss? Don't tell me they're mercenaries from abroad. I accidentally found a gunshot wound on Zhong Tiekui's arm when we were having dinner. There were also knife wounds. Zhong Tiekui. He was the captain of the 20 big men, the one with the strongest physique and the best capacity for liquor. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, I don't know their origin, nor do I know their past. But they are trained by the person I trust the most, so I can trust them. They will follow you later. Not only do you have to treat them well, but you also have to treat them as the most trustworthy people. Believe me, they are very strong. Let alone being security guards, even if you make them assassins, they will be stronger than many assassins. You mean, they've all seen blood? Kang Xia asked in astonishment. Tan Xiao said, not only have they seen blood, but they are also ruthless characters who have crawled out from a sea of blood and a mountain of corpses. I'm sure that the one who has killed the least number of people will have no less than dozens of them. Alright, just remember what I've told you. Don't ever tell anyone else. Kang Xia was, after all, a serious businesswoman. She was immediately scared by Tan Xiao's words. Tan Xiao said, Kang Xia, you don't need to care about their past. Just remember that they are now security guards, your trusted men. Chapter 150. While the two were talking, Tan Xiu's expression suddenly moved. He was keenly aware that there were many malicious gazes constantly sweeping over him. What's going on? He instantly released his spiritual sense and enveloped a radius of about 200 meters. What made him frown was that there were indeed many people glaring at him. Among them were nearly 30 youths who looked like thugs with knives and sticks hidden on their bodies. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and suddenly said, Kang Xia, do you have any other plans tonight? Kang Xia shook her head and said, I've been busy all day. I'm not made of iron, so I'll naturally go back to sleep. Why? Do you have any suggestions? Do you want to follow me to watch a good show? Asked Tan Xiu. A good show? Kang Xia raised her brows and asked, what good show? Just tell me if you want to watch it or not. Tan Xiu calmly said. Go back now if you don't want to watch it. Follow me if you want to watch it. All right. Kang Xia nodded. 10 minutes later, Tan Xiu and Kang Xia arrived near a sparsely populated park. The moon's shadow danced in the air, and the summer temperature was scorching hot. Under a towering tree, Tan Xiu's footsteps came to a halt. Boss, why did you bring me here? Kang Xia was confused. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile. He used his spiritual sense to observe the people who quickly gathered around and said in a clear voice, You must have worked hard to follow me all the way here. There's only the two of us here, so you don't need to hide anymore, do you? Brat, you're crazy. Zhu Tianqiang quickly appeared in front of Tan Xiu and Kang Xia with his 4 martial brothers. Nearly 30 young thugs in the surroundings pulled out their knives and sticks and surrounded Tan Xiu and Kang Xia. Tan Xiu indifferently looked at him. He took out his mobile, dialed a number and asked, Where are you now? Nearby. Zhong Tiekui's cold voice came out of the phone. Tang Xiu ordered, Show yourselves at once and surround all of them. Don't let any of the people who came tonight escape. Yes. As the phone was hung up, 20 strong men quietly appeared behind the young gangsters. Their expressions were cold, and they did not make a move without Tan Xiu's instructions. Zhu Tianqiang's expression changed, and the 4 brothers beside him also revealed looks of surprise. They had thought that they would intercept Tan Xiu, but in the end, they had fallen into Tan Xiu's ambush. The faces of the nearly 30 young hoodlums also changed greatly. What they liked the most was to bully others with numbers, but the sudden appearance of 20 strong men was clearly not their people. Tan Xiu looked at Zhu Tianqiang's group and smilingly asked, I don't know who you are, and I don't care who you are. I only want to ask one question. If any of you can answer me today, I guarantee that his fate will be 10 times better than the others. A mocking look appeared in Zhu Tianqiang's eyes as he said, Tan Xiu, right? You're really like the result of the investigation. So arrogant, so arrogant. You think you can be arrogant in front of us just because you have some martial arts and some people? You're really an idiot. Our Rising Dragon martial school's people have always bullied others. We've never been bullied by others. Rising Dragon martial school. Tan Xiu frowned. He found that he hated the people of this martial school. Last time, it was Fei Chang and his 3 brothers, and this time, a few more jumped out. Tell me the reason why you're looking for me. Tan Xiu calmly said. Zhu Tianqiang laughed loudly and said, What? Hearing that we're from the Rising Dragon martial school, you're scared? Let this father tell you, if you dare to hit my woman, your fate will be very miserable. Don't think that you've brought a lot of people. In my eyes, they're just showy but not practical. Your woman? Tan Xiu asked with a puzzled expression. Who is she? Zhu Tianqiang coldly snorted and said, Zhang Deqin, don't tell me you don't know her. Tan Xiu suddenly understood as he said with a smile, It seems that she's looking for you to retaliate against me. She and her brother are not good people, and I think you're also not good people. Since you're not good people, then I'll clean you up, and then I'll clean them up. Having said that, Tan Xiu turned his head to look at the fearless Kang Xia as he asked with a smile, do you think I'll let them do it? Or should I do it myself? Can you beat so many people? Kang Xia asked. Tan Xiu faintly smiled as he nodded and said, I understand what you mean. Just stand here and don't move. Let's see how today's show goes. As his voice faded away, Tan Xiu's footsteps instantly sprinted out. In nearly a blink of an eye, he had already appeared in front of Zhu Tianxiang's group of 5, 7 or 8 meters away. His fist's attack route was extremely strange. In a flash, it had already hit Zhu Tianxiang's lower left rib. The moment his fist passed through, it didn't stop at all as it blasted another person's lower right rib. Arg! A heart-wrenching and lung-splitting scream came out from Zhu Tianxiang and another person's mouth. Fuck off. Another middle-aged man sensed Tan Xiu's kick and immediately raised his arms, attempting to push Tan Xiu's leg away. However, a crisp bone-cracking sound was heard as his shoulder was fiercely hit, and his body was instantly smashed to the ground. Bam, bam, Tan Xiu revealed a grim smile as his moves were particularly fierce. In just 4 or 5 breaths, the 5 instructors from the Rising Dragon Martial School were all knocked down by him. His movements were as smooth as floating clouds and flowing water, and his lethality was extremely astonishing. The 20 big men's eyes slightly shrunk the moment Tan Xiu moved. Let's call it a day. Tan Xiu clapped his hands as he looked at Tan Xiu and asked with a smile, how was it? My performance was good, wasn't it? Kang Xia's eyes flickered as she raised her thumbs up and praised, you're so cool. I've never seen someone as powerful as you. Even those foreign boxers, and even the fighting scenes in the movies can't be compared to you. When you hit people, I had the illusion that you were displaying a kind of art to others. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, you're eloquent. No wonder you can become an elite in the business world. Kang Xia faintly smiled and said, boss, you're overpraising me. That's right, what's going on here? These people said that you hit their woman, and they came to retaliate against you. I didn't have any grudges with them, Tan Xiu said indifferently, but that woman's younger brother is very arrogant. I taught him a lesson a few times, and he later harbored a grudge. That woman and Long Zhengyu had a bet, and I was the one who helped Long Zhengyu gamble. I even helped Long Zhengyu win against her. Therefore, I met that woman and her younger brother by chance 2 days ago, and I slapped her. I didn't expect that she would find someone to retaliate against me. Kang Xia suddenly understood and said, boss, I know your character more or less. You don't seem to be the kind of person who would take the initiative to provoke others. It seems that that woman's mouth isn't ordinary. Tan Xiu smiled as he looked at the 20 to 30 young thugs whose complexions greatly changed. Then, he shouted in a deep voice, beat all of them down for me. Remember to break one of their legs for me. If you don't learn good things at such a young age, then don't be a normal person in the future. Yes. The 20 big men replied in unison, and then pounced toward the 20 to 30 young thugs like wolves and tigers. Their attacks were fast, ruthless, accurate, and extremely lethal. In just half a minute, the 20 to 30 young thugs were all knocked down and had one of their legs broken. Tan Xiu looked at the young thugs who were wailing in pain on the ground, and then looked at Zhu Tianxiang, who was like a dead dog that he had beaten unconscious. Then, he shouted in a deep voice, take the 5 of them and follow me. Immediately, 5 big men picked up Zhu Tianxiang's group of 5 and followed behind Tan Xiu toward their parked bus. The bus driver was an honest fat middle-aged man. He could clearly see the scene of the fight from a distance. When Tan Xiu and the others arrived, he immediately stuttered and said, I'm the company's driver. Your matter has nothing to do with me. Tan Xiu said indifferently, this matter has nothing to do with you. You're responsible for driving. If you think our behavior is violent, then you can quit your job tomorrow. The fat driver quickly said, no. I'm very satisfied with this job. I'm afraid. Tan Xiu interrupted him and said, join the magnificent Tang Corporation. You're a part of the company, so you don't need to be afraid. We don't take the initiative to bully others, but if others bully us, we can't swallow our anger and endure it. Well, do you know where the Rising Dragon Martial School is? The fat driver asked with a puzzled expression, do you want to go to the Rising Dragon Martial School? I know where it is, but apart from the main martial school, the Rising Dragon Martial School also has 2 branches. Which one do you want to go to? The main martial school. Tan Xiu replied without hesitation. Kang Xia, who had been following beside Tan Xiu, heard Tan Xiu's words. She asked with a confused expression, Boss, why do you want to go to the Rising Dragon Martial School? Tan Xiu said indifferently, I'm going to settle the account with their martial school. Otherwise, people from their martial school will find trouble with me again and again. I'm very annoyed. It's better to take advantage of today's opportunity to settle them all. Kang Xia hesitated and said, is this also part of tonight's drama? That's right. Tan Xiu said calmly. The Rising Dragon Martial School's main martial school was located in the West District of Star City. It was a bustling area with high-rise buildings and endless streams of traffic on the streets. In the night, the city was like a shining dragon. Today, Jiang Feng was very happy because his old friend, whom he hadn't seen for many years, had come to visit. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, they even made a few moves, which proved that he was not old yet. His old friend's martial art was very good, especially his pair of Tan Tui Kung Fu, which had been practiced to the acme of perfection. Yet, he was still defeated by him. Old Yang, this brother's martial art hasn't fallen, right? In the past, I relied on this martial art to create the Great Northwest, and the number of people I defeated was innumerable. But you, although you've made great progress, you still can't surpass me. Jiang Feng stroked his grizzled beard as he spoke with a smiling face. Chapter 151. Yang Xianyu, who was sitting opposite Jiang Feng, was also over 70 years old, but he was still full of spirit and had a radiant appearance. Even if he lost to Jiang Feng in martial arts, he didn't care. You old man, you're already so old, yet you still look so spirited. It's normal for me to lose to you. You're hailed as a martial arts prodigy. You've been gifted since you were young, so it's not shameful. It's not shameful to lose to you. Jiang Feng laughed and said, this is called old but not old at heart. Speaking of which, I haven't seen you for many years. When we were drinking before, I never had the chance to ask you. Why did you come to Star City this time? Upon hearing Jiang Feng's inquiry, Yang Xianyu's complexion instantly turned serious as he spoke with a sinking tone. A few days ago, I heard that a young divine doctor appeared in Jingmen Island and cured a girl with a strange disease. It was said that many famous doctors in the country could not cure the girl's strange illness. I hurried to Jingmen Island, but it was empty. Later, after asking around, I heard that the young miracle-working doctor is from Star City. Why are you looking for that young divine doctor? Could it be that someone is seriously ill? Yang Xianyu forced a smile and said, it's that old woman of mine. She had been a vegetarian and prayed to Buddha all her life. She had thought that she would be blessed by the gods as she grew older. Who would have thought that she would forget to close the door when she went to sleep? The strangest thing was that not only did she suffer from a stroke, but she also contracted a strange disease. She kept shouting in her coma that she had seen an immortal. Therefore, I personally rushed to Star City to find that young divine doctor and ask him to treat my family's old woman. Jiang Feng suddenly understood and said, how much do you know about that young divine doctor? I've been in Star City for decades. Whether it's my contacts or information network, they're very good. Maybe I can help you find him. Yang Xianyu forced a smile and said, I only know that he's called Tan Xiu, and he's about 20 years old. He didn't know anything else. So, I'm going to see you today and have a gathering with this old friend of mine. Tomorrow, I'll go to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital and ask. Maybe the people there know his whereabouts. Jiang Feng said, I have an old friend, the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. I'll give him a call and ask. Maybe he knows who you're looking for. Yang Xianyu was taken aback for a moment, and then immediately said with pleasant surprise, then, many thanks, Brother Jiang. You're too polite. Jiang Feng smiled and was about to dial Li Hongji's number when there was a commotion outside the door. What followed were a few shrill screams. What happened? Jiang Feng put down his phone, looked at his youngest son, and shouted at him. Jiang Xiang was 30 years old. He was tall and burly, and he wore a black training suit. With a frightened look on his face, he hurriedly said, Dad, someone has come to challenge us. What? Jiang Feng was taken aback, and his expression changed drastically. He still clearly remembered that the last time someone challenged him was more than 10 years ago. In the last decade or so, because of his great reputation, who in the entire Star City didn't give him a bit of face? But now, someone actually came to challenge him when his old friend was here. Wasn't this a slap to his old face? Let's go. I want to see who dares to challenge my Rising Dragon Martial School. Jiang Feng took the lead and strode toward the front courtyard with an angry look on his face. The Rising Dragon Martial School occupied a very large area, which was comparable to a school. The front courtyard was the place where the students practiced martial arts, while the back courtyard was the place where the instructors of the martial arts school lived. On the training field in the front courtyard, Tan Xiao and Kang Xia were sitting on the chairs that Zhong Tiekue had found for them, while Zhong Tiekue and the other 20 men stood in 2 rows, respectively on both sides of him and Kang Xia. In front of Tan Xiao, Zhu Tianqiang and the other 4 were lying on the ground like dead dogs, still unconscious. Jiang Feng came to the training field in the front courtyard and saw this scene. His complexion suddenly changed as a cold light burst out from his eyes. Surrounded by dozens of martial arts school instructors, he came in front of Tan Xiao and shouted with a deep voice, Who are you? Tan Xiao said indifferently, I heard that there's a challenge in the martial arts world. Just treat me as a passerby who came to challenge your school. I really hate your Rising Dragon Martial School. If possible, I hope you can disband it. So that you won't go out and bully others later. Jiang Feng deeply looked at Zhu Yongqiang's group of 5 and asked with a deep voice, Your Excellency, you must leave your name if you challenge our school. Listening to your tone, it seems that our Rising Dragon Martial School's people have offended you. May I know the reason? Tan Xiao turned to look at Zhong Tiekue and said indifferently, Wake that kid up. Yes. Zhong Tiekue walked to Zhu Tianqiang's side and lifted him up. He fiercely punched him in the face and then kicked him to the ground. The sharp pain made Zhu Tianqiang wake up from his coma, but the heart-wrenching pain made him howl miserably. 10 seconds later, Zhu Tianqiang endured the pain in his body and looked around. When he found that he had returned to the Rising Dragon Martial School and could clearly see the situation in front of him, his complexion suddenly changed. Moss. Master. Zhu Tianqiang was a bit scared inside, but he still braced himself and called out. Jiang Feng shouted with a deep voice, Tell me, what's going on? Zhu Tianqiang hesitated for a moment before he turned his head and looked at Tan Xiao with a frightened expression. Then, he said bitterly, Master, this disciple is wrong. I've made you lose face. Get to the point. Jiang Feng reprimanded. Zhu Tianqiang explained the cause and effect of the matter and finally said, Master, he hit my fiancée. I can't swallow this anger, so I brought my 4 fellow brothers to retaliate against him. This matter is all my fault. Master, please don't blame my 4 fellow brothers. This disciple will accept the punishment. Jiang Feng looked at Tan Xiao and said with a cold snort, Aren't you too arrogant, Your Excellency? It's fine if you hit someone, but you even dare to come to our martial school. Do you really think we're easy to bully? Tan Xiao waved his hand and said indifferently, I really don't have a good impression of your martial school. This is already the 2nd time. Last time, someone received black money and wanted to cripple me. As a result, I seriously injured them. I don't think those 4 guys are in your martial school now, right? 4. They were seriously injured. Jiang Feng thought of Fei Chang and the other 3 who were injured a few days ago, and immediately understood. When Fei Chang came back, he said that he was provoked by a fierce person, and then he was seriously injured. So it turned out that the 4 of them had accepted black money from others, and did things that went against morality. However, now that they were being bullied in their own home, Jiang Feng couldn't bear it anymore. Looking at the indifferent look on Tan Xiu's face, he said in a deep voice, "Since you're here to challenge our martial school, then let's do it. Since you can defeat these good-for-nothing disciples of mine, I presume your skills are good." Tang Xiu sneered and said, "I don't care about your 3-legged cat martial arts. The people I brought this time are the security guards of my company. I'll let them fight with you." "Arrogant," Jiang Feng angrily said. Tan Xiu said, "Whether I'm arrogant or not, we'll know after we fight. Among the 20 of you, who wants to come out and play with them?" "I'll do it." A strong man stood up and said in a deep voice. Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Remember, our country is a society ruled by law. Don't kill people." "Understood." The strong man nodded heavily. Jiang Feng shot a deep look at Tan Xiu and then looked at the strong man. He then turned to look at his son, Jiang Xiang, and coldly said, "Little Xiang, you go." "Understood." Jiang Xiang strode forward. Tan Xiu looked at the time and said, "Hurry up if you want to fight. I have other things to do tonight, so I don't have much time to waste here." "Understood." The muscular man agreed and dashed towards Jiang Xiang. His footsteps were steady and his speed was fast. Once he made his move, he revealed a ruthless aura. He had been trained in a special training camp abroad and learned killing moves. Later, he went through hundreds of battles on the battlefield. Soaring eagle wings. Jiang Xiang shouted and instantly spread his arms. His eagle claws constantly attacked the strong man. "Humph," the strong man snorted coldly. The moment his fist hit Jiang Xiang's neck, his left leg also whipped Jiang Xiang's shoulder lightning fast. The moment his fist was blocked by Jiang Xiang, his left leg heavily whipped Jiang Xiang's shoulder. Bam! Jiang Xiang's body was instantly kicked and heavily smashed on the ground. Everyone present was a powerful martial artist. All of them were keenly aware that Jiang Xiang's shoulder that was hit was a bit strange. It looked like his shoulder was broken by a kick. A middle-aged man in his 40s came out from the crowd of the Rising Dragon Martial School. He was thin, with a raised nose and a frosty look. What a ruthless method! What a powerful strength! "I'm Situ Lu, Master's eldest disciple. Please advise me, Your Excellency." The strong man's interest was somewhat lacking. He thought that his opponent was very powerful, but he ended up crippling his opponent, which made him feel very bored. Moreover, his boss had ordered him not to take his opponent's life. Otherwise, he wouldn't need to go through so much trouble. He could have killed Jiang Xiang in half a second. Tan Xiu lightly said, "Since they want to play, then accompany them to play. Tell 10 of them to come forward. If 10 people from the Rising Dragon Martial School can beat you, I'll give them some face today." "Arrogant," Jiang Feng angrily shouted as he spoke with a sinking tone, "Brat, you still haven't reported your name." Tan Xiu pointed at the strong man and said with a faint smile, "Send 10 people. If they can defeat him, I'll satisfy your curiosity. Otherwise, your Rising Dragon Martial School will disappoint me too much. Telling you my name is the same as asking for humiliation." Jiang Feng laughed out of extreme anger as he repeatedly said, "Good, good, good. You really have a big tone. Such being the case, I'll satisfy your Excellency's request. 10 people, go up and knock him down for me." In an instant, 10 instructors of the Rising Dragon Martial School rushed to the vicinity of the strong man and surrounded him. Excitement flashed in their eyes, as if the strong man was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. The strong man's spirit was also raised as a bloodthirsty light flashed in his eyes. He knew that Tan Xiu still had something to do, so he was too lazy to say anything and took the lead to launch an attack. Today's fourth chapter has been released. In the afternoon, the comments section of the book have been flooded. All of them are hurling abuse at Jing Yi. Jing Ye's glass heart has been broken, but he still clenched his teeth and persisted until the fourth chapter. I implore my brothers and sisters to comfort him. Finally, I wish my brothers and sisters a happy Dragon Boat Festival. Chapter 152. In order to express our gratitude to the Union Master for his support, we're going to break 10 chapters today. Brothers and sisters, please follow up with your monthly votes. Silent Night Kowtows. The 10 instructors of the Rising Dragon Martial School were like fierce tigers. They had good experience in actual combat. Their punches and kicks crisscrossed as they greeted the stalwart man. Jumping clowns. The stalwart man was fearless in the face of danger. He didn't even have the intention to dodge. He fiercely punched the person in front of him and sent him flying. Then, his figure instantly pounced to the right and used his fists and elbows to send another person flying again. Tan Xiu, who was sitting on the chair, turned his head to look at Kang Xia, and said with a light smile, "How about it? Their strength is not bad, right?" Kang Xia turned her face and raised 4 fingers, saying, he had 4 chances to kill his opponents. I clearly saw a blade appear in the gap between his fingers, but he changed the direction of his attack the moment he tore his opponent's body. You can see it clearly. Tan Xiu was surprised. My eyesight is 5 times that of an ordinary person, Kang Xia said with a proud smile. However, his speed is very fast, exceeding the limit of an ordinary person. If not for the reflection of the moonlight, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to see it. Are your eyes innate or acquired? Tan Xiu asked doubtfully. Innate. Kang Xia said. Tan Xiu nodded, but he was thinking about another matter in his heart. He once met a genius in the immortal world who cultivated an eye technique. His eyesight was 10 times better than an ordinary person. In just 1,800 years, he became the famous heavenly pupil great emperor in the immortal world. If Kang Xia's eyes were really like that heavenly pupil great emperor's, she could undergo a specialized eye technique cultivation. While the two of them were talking, the stalwart man had already beaten up the 10 instructors of the Rising Dragon Martial School. Although he didn't take their lives, he was very ruthless. The 10 instructors either had their arms or legs broken, and their screams echoed in the martial arts field. Tan Xiu looked at the flushed Jiang Feng and lightly said, "You've hit the young one. Isn't it time for the old one to act? I heard that you're very strong. I'll get someone to play with you." Jiang Feng took a step forward and sneered. "I've stepped into the martial Dao Grandmaster realm more than a decade ago. If you think your man can defeat me, then let him come." Tan Xiu looked at Zhong Tiekue and lightly said, "You go up and spar with him. This old man isn't good at teaching his disciples, but I heard that he has a good character. Show some mercy." "Yes." Zhong Tiekue agreed and strode to the open space in front of him. Jiang Feng narrowed his eyes. Although he was old, his strength hadn't regressed. Instead, after decades of bitter training, his martial arts had reached the pinnacle. Yang Xianyu, who was standing not far away, had already seen how powerful Tan Xiu's men were, so he was very clear that today, his old friend was probably going to die. After hesitating for a moment, he reminded them, "Be careful. Even I can't tell how strong they are." Jiang Feng sneered and said, looking at his age, "He's at most 40 years old. Even if he started practicing martial arts in his mother's womb, I'm afraid he hasn't reached the Grandmaster realm yet. Cleaning him up won't be a problem." A forced smile was revealed on Yang Xianyu's face as he said, "Don't fail miserably in an easy task. Otherwise, your illustrious reputation will be ruined in a day." Upon hearing this, Jiang Feng immediately turned cautious. Tan Xiu looked at Yang Xianyu and lightly asked, "You shouldn't be someone from the Rising Dragon Martial School, right? If you're not, then shut your mouth." Yang Xianyu looked at Tan Xiu, shook his head and sighed, "Young people these days really don't know how to respect the old and cherish the young. I hope your men have some ability, else you'll lose today." At the side, Zhu Tianxiang, who had been helped up, suddenly shouted, "Master, the most powerful one is not the guy in front of you, but the one sitting there. The 5 of us didn't even last 10 seconds in front of him and were all knocked out by him." "What?" Jiang Feng and Yang Xianyu's complexion crazily changed as shock burst out from their eyes. At this moment, they absolutely believed that Zhu Tianxiang wouldn't deceive them. But none of them could knock out Zhu Tianxiang's group of 5 within 10 seconds. How terrifying was this kind of strength? Tan Xiu sneered and said, "Don't be afraid. I'm very weak. Furthermore, at my age, even if I started cultivating when I was still in my mother's womb, I wouldn't be able to achieve much." Jiang Feng's expression instantly turned into a pig's liver color. He was very clear that the other party was using his words to slap his face. Tan Xiu looked at Jiang Feng and said, "You two don't waste time. If you want to fight, then hurry up. I'll go back and help my classmates with their homework. I don't have much time to delay." Help his classmates with their homework? Jiang Feng stared blankly, and the people from the Rising Dragon Martial School were also dumbfounded. They looked at Tan Xiu with an inconceivable expression. It was simply hard to believe that this young man had such a group of powerful men, and he was unexpectedly a student. However, Jiang Feng was, after all, a big shot who had experienced many storms. After looking at Zhong Tiekue, he cupped his fists and said, "I'm older than you, and I've reached the Grandmaster realm. Therefore, I'll let you have 3 moves. If you can't defeat me in 3 moves, then you'll never have the chance." Zhong Tiekue sneered and said, "You don't need to let me have my way. My boss wants to watch the show, so you give me your best strength. Else, even if my boss asks me to be lenient, I'll still make you a eunuch who is neither a man nor a woman." Jiang Feng flew into a rage. The idea of letting Zhong Tiekue have 3 moves instantly dissipated. His footsteps were extremely steady as he stood straight like a pine tree and bent like a bow. He had the posture of a lion hunting a rabbit as his toes fiercely stomped the ground and his body pounced toward Zhong Tiekue. His palms turned into fists as he instantly bombarded Zhong Tiekue dozens of times. Bam! Bam! Zhong Tiekue was like a parent to fighting. His arms were constantly waving as his fists met Jiang Feng's fists again and again. His speed was even faster than Jiang Feng's. His strange footwork made a sharp turn as he evaded Jiang Feng's bombardment of fists in an instant. His body twisted strangely as if it had no bones. In an instant, his head appeared on the lower right side of Zhong Tiekue as his fist hit his armpit. Crack! Jiang Feng's right arm was instantly dislocated, and his body staggered back 4 or 5 steps. Zhong Tiekue didn't chase after him but twisted his neck. As the bones all over his body cracked, he crooked his finger at Jiang Feng. "Amazing! His speed and strength are much stronger than mine. Furthermore, he has an extremely rich combat experience and is definitely a ruthless character who has killed many people. What's the origin of these people? What's the identity of this young man? What kind of background does he have?" Jiang Feng pondered inwardly. He endured the pain in his right arm and instantly restored it with his left hand. Then, he gently moved it a few times and said in a deep voice, "You're very powerful. You're an expert I've never seen in my life. I'll go all out from now on, so I hope you can keep it up." "You talk too much." Zhong Tiekue sneered as he watched Jiang Feng pouncing at him. His speed and strength suddenly soared. Almost in the blink of an eye, Zhong Tiekue kicked Jiang Feng's raised arm. He then flipped in the air lightning fast and kicked Jiang Feng's cheek. Bam! Jiang Feng's cheekbone was not broken, but his vision turned black and he instantly lost consciousness for 2 seconds. In a fight between experts, let alone 2 seconds, even half a second could determine the outcome. Zhong Tiekue was a veteran on the battlefield and naturally knew how to seize the opportunity. His fists without any fancy moves bombarded dozens of times in one breath, each of which solidly hit Jiang Feng's chest. Once again. Jiang Feng's body heavily smashed more than 10 meters away as a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. He struggled for several times, yet he couldn't struggle to get up from the ground. Zhong Tiekue didn't even glance at Jiang Feng as he came to the front of Tan Xiu and cupped his fists, saying, "Boss, I'm fortunate to have accomplished my mission." Tan Xiu nodded with a smile, motioning him to go to the side. He then looked at Jiang Feng again and lightly said, "You've also lost. So, I've succeeded in challenging your school today, right? What should you do according to the practice of martial arts?" Jiang Feng was propped up by several martial school instructors. For a moment, he seemed to have aged more than 10 years. With an ashen face, he said, "I'll take down our Rising Dragon Martial School's plaque and give it to you. Today, our skills are indeed inferior, and I'm convinced of my loss. Besides, I can feel that if he didn't show mercy, I'm afraid I would have been killed by him." Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, "I'm not interested in your Rising Dragon Martial School's plaque. I only have one purpose now, and that is to make my enemy pay the price. That Zhu Tianxiang not only brought his 4 martial brothers to retaliate against me, but also brought dozens of local ruffians. Presumably, he's not a good person. So, I hope you can ask him to call his woman. Let's settle this matter today." Jiang Feng looked at Zhu Tianxiang. Zhu Tianxiang quickly said, "Not today. De Qin went to the imperial capital early this morning. There's a very important business negotiation that she needs to solve. Can you wait? When she comes back from the imperial capital, I'll personally take her to your school to apologize." For a moment, Tan Xiu was silent and was about to agree. At the side, Kang Xia suddenly opened her mouth and said, "Since your woman can't come, then let's change the method. We've been delayed a lot of time because of you, and our time is very precious. So, you have to compensate us for the mental damage, the loss of youth." Jiang Feng and Yang Xianyu looked at each other. Both of them could see the same expression in each other's eyes. At this moment, they thought that the reason why Tan Xiu came to challenge them was because he wanted to make money. "How much?" Zhu Tianxiang asked helplessly. Kang Xia said without being salty or light, 100 million. "What? Why don't you just rob a bank?" Zhu Tianxiang was immediately startled and angry upon hearing it. Although 100 million was something he could barely afford, but if he were to pay this amount, he would probably have to tighten his belt in the future. A charming smile was revealed on Kang Xia's face as she looked at Zhu Tianxiang and said, "Have you ever heard of this saying that a woman's heart is the most poisonous after being stung by a wasp's tail? This boss of mine is kind-hearted and doesn't want to kill anyone. But I'm not afraid. I've personally dealt with the things my boss ordered me to do. Do you think that the lives of the 5 of you are not worth 100 million? Chapter 153. A chill ran down Zhu Tianxiang's spine. He could see that each and every one of these 20 big men brought by Tang Xiu was a ruthless character. Just like in the previous martial arts competition, although the other party didn't kill them, but the injuries they brought to his fellow brothers were very serious. If he really didn't give the money, would his master be able to protect the 5 of them? Thinking up to there, Zhu Tianxiang couldn't help but secretly shake his head. As the saying goes, people under the eaves have to bow their heads. He had no other choice but to spend the money to avert the disaster. "I'll give it to you." Kang Xia applauded and smilingly said, "A wise man submits to circumstances. Money can be earned again, but there's nothing left if people are gone." Zhu Tianxiang's complexion turned ashen as he endured the pain and said, 100 million is not a small amount for me. You need to give me some time. Once I've collected the money, I'll immediately send it to you." Kang Xia's complexion changed as she indifferently said, "Do you think we're 3-year-old kids? Are you that gullible? I'll give you half an hour. If you haven't handed 100 million to our boss within half an hour, you don't need to collect the money." Zhu Tianxiang opened his mouth and looked at Jiang Feng for help. Jiang Feng sighed inwardly. He knew that if he couldn't satisfy Tan Xiu today, this matter wouldn't end well. Immediately, he slowly said, "I'll pay the money. Let's call it a day." Tan Xiu glanced at Kang Xia with a strange expression, secretly admiring this woman's cleverness. Although she was just a fox borrowing the tiger's might to blackmail them, the effect was really effective. She even moved her lips and unexpectedly got 100 million. Originally, the magnificent Tang Corporation's development still lacked a lot of funds. But with this 100 million, he believed that it would be able to solve the urgent need. "Kang Xia, just give them an account. I don't think they dare to deceive me. Let's go. I've wasted too much time today. I don't know if those guys are still waiting for me." Tan Xiu got up and no longer looked at Jiang Feng as he strode toward the door. Jiang Feng's expression moved and asked aloud, "You haven't told me your name, Mr. Tan Xiu, tell your people not to provoke me again. Otherwise, I don't mind killing all of you," Tan Xiu said as he walked. Tan Xiu. Jiang Feng, remember this name. On the side, Yang Xianyu looked at the back of Tan Xiu with a complicated expression. He did not think much about this name. He was very curious about this young man called Tang Xiu. What was his origin? Not only did he have 20 subordinates with extremely high attainments in martial arts, but his own strength should also be very terrifying. A few minutes later, only the people from the Rising Dragon Martial School were left on the martial arts field. Jiang Feng walked to the place where Tan Xiu was originally sitting and sat down. He looked up at Zhu Tianxiang and spoke in a deep voice, "If it was a normal martial arts competition, I wouldn't blame you for being inferior to others. However, you actually formed a gang to take revenge on him. This matter cannot be left unsettled. I'll pay 100 million for the 5 of you. But from today onwards, you are no longer my apprentices, nor are you people of the Rising Dragon Martial School. If you dare to use the name of the Rising Dragon Martial School to commit crimes, I'll personally kill you without the need for others to act. Alright, wake the 4 of them up and then get the hell out of here." "Master," Zhu Tianxiang's complexion changed as he involuntarily cried out in alarm. Jiang Feng angrily shouted, "Shut up. I'm no longer your master. You don't need to beg me. I'm done with you. Get the hell out of here." Zhu Tianxiang's lips squirmed a few times before he finally lowered his head in despair. He heavily kowtowed 3 times in front of Jiang Feng and stood up with a limp. He walked to the side of the 4 unconscious fellow apprentices, woke them up, and then left. Jiang Feng looked at the disciple beside him and spoke in a deep voice, "Send someone to find Fei Chang and the other 3. Tell them that even if they are at the edge of the sky, they must come to see me first." "Yes." The disciple complied and called his fellow apprentices to leave quickly. Looking at Jiang Feng's angry expression, Yang Xianyu secretly sighed. He then gently patted his shoulder and said with a forced smile, "There's always someone better than you out there. We all know this saying. Although I don't know how that young man and his underlings train, but their strength is really strong. So, if the other party is willing to stop here, then let's solve them as soon as possible." Jiang Feng nodded and helplessly said, "I indeed met a ruthless character today. My loss is not unjust. But why do I feel that name is somewhat familiar?" Yang Xianyu was confused and asked, "What name?" Jiang Feng said, "Didn't that young man say his name before he left? Didn't you hear it?" "What name?" Yang Xianyu stared blankly for a moment as he slowly recalled it in his mind. Suddenly, his eyes turned round as disbelief was written all over his face. He involuntarily exclaimed, "Tan Xiu." He said his name is Tan Xiu. Jiang Feng said, "Yes, that's his name." Yang Xianyu blinked his eyes. He didn't say anything as he quickly chased outside the courtyard's gate. When he sprinted outside the gate, he found that there was no trace of Tan Xiao and the others. What's going on? You? Jiang Feng asked with a confused expression. Yang Xianyu forced a smile and said, do you still remember what I told you before? The purpose of me coming to Star City is to find a young divine doctor named Tan Xiao. That young man is called Tan Xiao, and he's about 20 years old. If my guess is correct, I'm afraid he's the one I'm looking for. It's him. Jiang Feng looked at Yang Xianyu with a dumbfounded and disbelieving expression. Yang Xianyu said, it should be right. Don't you know the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital? Try calling him and see if he knows about this Tan Xiao. If he knows, why don't you ask Tang Xiao what he does? All right. Jiang Feng dialed Li Hongji's cell number. After exchanging some greetings, he asked, old friend, I'm actually calling you because there's something I want to ask you. Say it. Li Hongji's voice came out of the phone. Jiang Feng said, I heard that a young divine doctor named Tan Xiao appeared in Jingmen Island some time ago. But that Tan Xiao is from Star City. Old friend, you're the president of Chinese Medical Hospital, so you should know more about the Chinese medical field. I think if he's really from Star City, you should know about his existence. Li Hongji laughed and said, you're really asking the right person. In the entire Star City, the number of people who know that Tan Xiao is a young divine doctor can be counted with one's fingers, except for the people from our Chinese medical hospital. What's wrong? Do you have something you want from Tan Xiao? Jiang Feng was happy and quickly asked, I want to know which hospital he's a doctor from. Is it your Chinese medical hospital? Li Hongji said with a smile, soon. After half a month, he'll finish his college entrance test and can come to our Chinese medical hospital to provide medical services. Old Jiang. You don't know how much effort I've spent to invite Tan Xiao to our hospital. That kid is simply a weirdo. He has brilliant medical skills, yet he doesn't want to be a doctor. He only wants to occasionally come to our Chinese medical hospital. Jiang Feng was shocked, he's still a student. A high school student who's about to take the college entrance test. That's right. Li Hongji said. Jiang Feng hesitated for a long time before he asked in a low voice, Old Jiang, do you know how to contact Tan Xiao? I have a friend who wants to find him and ask him to treat a patient. It's fine. I'll give you his cell number later. But you tell your friend not to give his private number to anyone, else that kid will get angry. Li Hongji urged. All right. Thank you, old friend. I'll treat you to a drink some other day. No problem. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Feng looked at Yang Xianyu and said with a forced smile, it seems like you guessed it right. He's indeed the young divine doctor, Tan Xiao. Offending a doctor, especially a young divine doctor, was something Jiang Feng was very unwilling to do. Regarding today's matter, he suddenly had a feeling that it was like an undeserved calamity. Yang Xianyu said with a helpless expression, it seems like I've caused a big trouble for interrupting today. I don't know anything about that kid's temperament. If I were to take the liberty to visit him, I'm afraid he wouldn't even look at me. Jiang Feng said with a bit of an apologetic expression, old friend, I'm sorry this time. If it really doesn't work, I'll throw away my old face and personally visit him. No matter what condition he has, I'll try my best to satisfy it. Yang Xianyu shook his head and said with a helpless expression, think about it again. Jiang Feng's expression suddenly moved as he quickly said, when I was chatting with Li Hongji, he revealed a piece of news to me. He said that Tan Xiao is going to take the college entrance test in half a month. After the test is over, he will go to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital to provide medical services. Why don't you pick up your wife? We'll find out which day he will go to the Chinese Medical Hospital to provide medical services. What do you think? Yang Xianyu's eyes lit up as he immediately nodded heavily, that's a good idea. If he can cure my wife, I'll prepare a big gift for him. After Tan Xiao and Kang Xia left the Rising Dragon Martial School with 20 strong men, they took a bus and rushed to the dormitory prepared by Kang Xia in South Gate Town. On the last row of seats, Tan Xiao smelled the faint fragrance coming from Kang Xia's body. A curved arc was outlined on the corner of his mouth as he said with a smile, "Today's show is good, right? Not only you don't need to buy a ticket, but you can also get 100 million yuan. Kang Xia said with a charming smile, "It's indeed good. Having a boss like you really makes me happy. How about we not open a company in the future? You take me to see the show every day, and I'll ask for money every day." Tan Xiao was at a loss whether he had to laugh or cry as he said, "Do you think you can encounter this kind of thing every day? People nowadays are all shrewd monkeys. It's very difficult to meet such a sucker. Besides, I'll be annoyed to death if someone comes to make trouble for me every day." A smile blossomed on Kang Xia's face as she said, "It's indeed annoying, but it's also a kind of pain and happiness, right? TSK. Earning 100 million a day, not only can you become the country's first down payment, you can also become the richest man in the world in 3 to 5 years. At that time, even Bill Gates will have to look up to you, right?" Chapter 154. Tan Xiao snappily said, "Bill Gates's money is much more than that. Anyways, let's not talk about this anymore. I've given you the formula of the healthcare products. I'm going to do my best to deal with the college entrance test. Don't disturb me if you have nothing to do." Kang Xia rolled her eyes at Tan Xiao and snorted, "I've never seen a boss like you." She directly waved her hand. "But don't you feel happy that such an outstanding beauty like me is looking for you?" Tan Xiao touched the bridge of his nose and said with a smile, "Someone once said that a woman's heart is the most poisonous. Just like a flower, the more beautiful and charming it is, the more poisonous it is. I don't want to take drugs at such a young age." Pfft! Kang Xia couldn't help but burst into laughter. She never knew that Tan Xiao's eloquence turned out to be so good. The more contact she had with Tan Xiao, the more she found Tan Xiao to be mysterious and interesting. Her eyes turned and she suddenly approached Tan Xiao. Her sensual red lips were very close to Tan Xiao's ear, and her warm breath was sprayed on Tan Xiao's ear. She then whispered, "Boss, you're really mysterious. You don't look like a high school student at all. Can you tell me, how did you learn such powerful martial arts? Also, what's the origin of those security guards you brought?" Tan Xiao directly pushed Kang Xia away and snappily said, "Don't try to seduce me. My self-control is very weak. If you dare to cross the line even half a step, I'll absolutely not be able to control myself and execute you on the spot. It's not the time to tell you about my martial arts and their origin. Maybe you'll know about it later." Kang Xia rolled her eyes and resentfully turned her head to look outside the window. The more Tan Xiao refused to tell her, the more her heart itched to figure out these things. Moreover, she found that she had been sick recently, and the sickness was not light, because she always thought of Tan Xiao from time to time, wondering what he was doing now. She wanted to know when he would contact her. She wanted to know when she would be able to unravel the mysteries surrounding him. Why am I letting my imagination run wild again? Kang Xia patted her small head and once again turned her head to give Tan Xiao a charming supercilious look. Very soon, Kang Xia settled the 20 security guards down and gave Captain Zhong Tiekue a sum of money, which was considered as an advance payment for their salaries. Then, she drove her sports car and sent Tan Xiao to South Gate Town. When she sat in the driver's seat and looked at Tan Xiao's back through the window, she couldn't help but roll her eyes once again. She clearly remembered that Tan Xiao did not mention the words, "invite her to his house," at all. Heartless and unromantic. Is this a sign that I'm going to spend the rest of my life alone? Kang Xia couldn't help but curse in her heart. When Tan Xiao returned home, he found that Yuan Chuling, Qing Yannan, and the other two were still waiting for him. He immediately told a lie and began to tutor them with their homework. Time passed in the blink of an eye. As the days passed by, Tan Xiu also passed in boredom. Soon, there were only 3 days left before the college entrance exam. To Tan Xiu's satisfaction, his mother had been discharged from the hospital, and the size of the family's restaurant had not only expanded by several times, but the decoration was also more luxurious. Moreover, his mother had decided to reopen the restaurant on the second day after the college entrance exam. These days, he carefully guided Yuan Chuling, Qing Yannan, and the other two in their studies, making their level advance by leaps and bounds. Tan Xiu was sure that if they were to take the exam again, their scores would certainly be greatly improved. As for the extent to which they could improve, he didn't know. On Chen Zhizhong and Long Zhengyu's side, there were also various news. For example, Chen Zhizhong and Long Zhengyu had joined hands to set up a trap, and they had lured Su Shangguan into it. He believed that it wouldn't be long before Shangguan real estate would go bankrupt, and Su Shangguan would also go to jail. As for Long Zhengyu, Chu Yi, Bai Tao, and Ouyang Lulu, the preliminary preparation for the development of the building had also been completed. Tan Xiu had carefully drawn the overall planning and architectural drawings to them. As for how they would operate and how they would construct it later, that was their business. Xingqing City No. 1 High School. In the classroom of Class 10, Tan Xiu was silently cultivating. As time passed by, his cultivation had been rapidly progressing. Every day, he absorbed the power of the stars, making his star force more vigorous. He was confident that if he maintained this speed, it wouldn't be long before he could reach the peak of the skin strengthening stage. At that time, he could even sprint to the next stage. Tan Xiu. Miss Han is looking for you. Qing Yannan came back from outside the classroom. Upon seeing Tan Xiu, she directly said. Tan Xiu raised his head and asked with a confused expression, "Why is she looking for me?" Qing Yannan said, "It should have something to do with us. She asked us to come to school 2 hours earlier today. You know about this matter. After we came to school, she gave us 2 test papers, one for mathematics and one for foreign language. After we finished the test, she didn't tell us the score and just asked me to call you to her office." Tan Xiu slowly stood up. He then touched the sleepy Yuan Chuling and asked, "How was your test this morning?" Yuan Chuling pursed his lips and snorted, "Not bad. I feel that it's much easier than the previous test papers. Miss Han is looking for you, so hurry up and go. Don't disturb my dreams." Tan Xiu was rendered speechless. After leaving the classroom, he directly went to the office. Seeing that there was only Han Qinggu in the office, he chuckled and said, "Miss Han, is there something you need from me?" Han Qinggu's mood was obviously good. She waved to Tan Xiu and said with a smile, "Tan Xiu, you really don't show your true colors. I originally thought that Yuan Chuling and Qing Yannan could only improve their results a little bit after you gave them supplementary lessons. In the end, I asked the 4 of them to do 2 sets of test papers this morning. Guess what their results were?" Tan Xiu confidently said, "It's definitely good. Otherwise, you would have already criticized and educated me with a face full of anger." Han Qinggu smilingly scolded, "You stinking brat. Am I that unreasonable? But your guess is correct. The results of the 4 of them really improved by leaps and bounds. One of the math questions was an Olympic question. It was extremely difficult, but all 4 of them managed to solve it, and their answers were correct. Those who believe in me shall have eternal life." Tan Xiu suddenly recalled the slogan of the Devil Path sects in the immortal world to recruit cultivation geniuses. He immediately looked at Han Qinggu with a faint smile and said, "Miss Han, I improved the results of the 4 of them. Won't you give me a reward?" Han Qinggu couldn't help laughing and said, "What kind of reward do you want?" "Give me a day off," Tan Xiu said. "I'm going out to get some fresh air." Han Qinggu was dumbfounded. From Tan Xiu's tone, why did she feel that Tan Xiu staying at school was like staying in prison? "I don't think I need to give you a day off. Just stay at school for 1 more day. All the 3rd-year students will have a holiday tomorrow. Let everyone rest for 2 days and then directly take the college entrance test. Really? Tan Xiao was pleasantly surprised. Do you think I'm joking with you? Han Qinggu snappily said. You don't look like it. Tan Xiao shook his head. All right. Han Qinggu waved and said, I called you here to praise you. Now that you've enjoyed it, go back to the classroom and review your homework. If the 4 of them can really give me satisfactory results in the college entrance test, I'll treat you to a big meal during the summer vacation. It's a deal. Tan Xiao replied and then left the office. Ring, ring, ring. Just as Tan Xiao arrived at the door of Class 10's classroom, the mobile phone in his pocket rang. Looking around and seeing that there was no one around, Tan Xiao walked a few steps to the distance. After picking up the phone, he said, Long Jinglin, what's the matter? Eldest brother, I found an excellent medicinal herb in Star City's medicinal herbs market. Do you want to take a look? Long Jinglin's excited voice came out of the phone. What medicinal herb? Tan Xiao asked with a puzzled expression. Long Jinglin said, I heard from the shop owner that this medicinal herb is extremely rare. Moreover, it's picked from the snowy mountains in the west, and it's stored in a warm jade box. You mean the Tianshan snow lotus? Tan Xiao was surprised. Long Jinglin laughed and said, yes, it's the Tianshan snow lotus. Moreover, it's a Millennium Tianshan snow lotus. I wanted to buy it for you, but it turned out to be too expensive. A Millennium Tianshan snow lotus, and the boss actually gave me 9 digits. Are you coming or not? If you don't come, I can't stop him. The boss wants to sell it to someone else. Tan Xiao said without hesitation, just wait for me. I'll go there now. All right. Long Jinglin replied and hung up the phone. Tan Xiao pondered for a moment. He didn't ask for leave from Han Qinggu and sneakily climbed over the wall to slip out of the school. When he came to the road outside, he directly stopped a taxi and rushed toward the medicinal herbs market. From Xingcheng No. 1 High School to the Star City Medicinal Herbs Market, it only took half an hour by taxi. When Tan Xiao arrived at the shop mentioned by Long Jinglin, he found that there were already a lot of people surrounding it. Long Jinglin, relying on his big stature, was desperately protecting the Tianshan snow lotus. Even if the boss wanted to sell it, he couldn't do it. Sure enough. Tan Xiao was secretly surprised. The value of a Millennium Snow Lotus, in the eyes of ordinary people, was perhaps only worth 9 digits. But if it was given to him, it could be worth hundreds of 9 digits. He didn't need the Tianshan Snow Lotus for his cultivation, but Gu Yin really needed this medicinal herb. If he bought it and refined it, it would definitely allow Gu Yin to break through to a very high cultivation realm in a short time. Boss, how much is it? Tan Xiao squeezed to the innermost part of the crowd and directly asked, 100 million. I won't sell it for less. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.